What's cracking, everybody? Welcome to MURKradio, the talk show. We've got a bunch of people up in the Discord today. What's up? We got Graph. We got Iro from Twitch. We got Justin, Craft Thicket Forge on Instagram and all other social medias. What's up, gang? We're live. We're going to check in on the motherfucking news. Let's see what we got going on this live trial. It's the live trial of Kim Potter. We've had some
police department?
Yes.
Some cross-examinations going on today, and we're just going to hop in live and hang out. So let's see what's crack-a-lacking.
A full audit of the taser, make sure it's functioning properly, things of that nature.
Okay. And did you receive insistence in getting that information off of the taser?
I did.
And how was that performed?
Sergeant Mike Peterson removed the battery from the taser and put it in the docking station at the Brooklyn Center Police Department.
Where's my...
and then uploaded the data onto their
There
computer system.
And then you end up getting a report from that, correct?
Sergeant Peterson printed out a copy of the audit for me, yes.
And then he provided it to you?
Correct.
Okay. What did you learn regarding who had possessed that taser prior to coming into possession of it yourself?
I learned that Officer Potter was the only one that had possession of that taser, at least in the field.
Okay. And when did you gain possession of it?
What up?
March 26th,
What up, Christy?
I believe.
Oh, I probably sound a little rough, yeah.
Did you receive any other information about the taser's functionality?
Yes.
And whether it was
Here
functioning
we go.
at that time?
It was.
Okay. Now, was there any data that you received regarding when the taser had been function tested?
Yes.
Okay. What is a function test?
It's a test you perform on the taser to make sure the core electronics are working properly. So an internal and external check.
Okay. Are you familiar with how often an officer is supposed to perform a function test?
Yes.
How often?
According to the Brooklyn Center Police Department taser policy, they should perform a spark test before each shift.
Now, they're talking to, a specialist in the realm of tasers and training in tasers. And now we're getting into the heart of where I feel like, Kim Potter fucked up doing her job.
If an officer has a taser on their duty belt, how...
Oh, damn straight special. That's exactly why my throat's raw.
Yes.
Now, have you heard of a function test also being called a spark test?
Yes.
Why is it called a spark test?
The spark test name comes from when you arc the taser to make sure that it's working properly.
So part of the function test is actually not only turning it on, but causing an electrical current to...
They're breaking down the uses of tasers. I think we got it. I think we all agree. Well, save a couple voices. I think we all agree for the most part that Homegirl used her taser in the wrong way. I feel we should move on to some other news here. I have some news that I specifically have stashed back to try to get a special guest riled up and get him up in the Discord today. Something I really, really, really want to talk to him about, and it's the. Let's see if we can find it here. California gun laws. Apparently, Newsom has vowed to use Texas abortion tactics on gun laws, which won't go anywhere. The Supreme Court's going to throw that shit out, but still still play in favor of Texas's tactics on abortion law, probably. So let's see what we got here from CNN.
Governor Gavin Newsom is promising that he'll implement gun control measures in his state by copying the legal tactics used by Texas to enact what is essentially a ban on abortion. The Supreme Court has let Texas go forward with a law that allows private citizens across the state to sue anyone who helps someone more than 6 weeks pregnant get an abortion. In a statement, Newsom said, in part, California will use that authority to protect people's lives, where Texas used it to put women in harm's way.
What thoughts and feelings? I want them in the chat. I want you to hop in the Discord and come tell me about what you think about this, what Newsom's saying here, because it sounds kind of wild. Again, everybody here I think knows, and if you don't know and you're new to the channel and you're seeing this video, this is the first exposure to MURKradio you have. I'm against the prohibition mentality applied to firearms. I don't like that shit. If you're an adult, you should be able to buy a gun. If you're in a rural place where you need one to protect your family, that's the black and white of it. California, incredibly hard place to make laws for, particularly with guns. You have rural areas, you have metropolitan areas, you have places that are cultural hubs, you have places that are not so much cultural hubs. You have unincorporated, like, wild space. And to make sweeping gun laws for the whole state is fucking crazy to me. Fucking crazy. It should almost be handled county to county, in my opinion. But let's push forward in this a little bit.
Joining us now to discuss is CNN Chief Legal Analyst Jeffrey Toobin. He's a former federal prosecutor as well, and journalist Mara Schiavocampo. She is a host of Tell This podcast. Mara, just to look at the bigger picture of this, and the argument that he's making is essentially that if Texas can do this and use the law with this legal wording this way, we're going to use it in a different measure.
Yeah, so this is a smart political move for him. He's getting applauded for being someone who's taking the fight to the enemy, so to speak. He may get gun reform out of it, and it's raising his national profile. And for someone who reportedly is eyeing a future presidential run, that's important. But if you zoom out a little bit and you look at the bigger picture, the idea that states would apply the legal mechanism that was used in Texas to then go against other rights is something that, frankly, is quite terrifying. Because let's look at what's happening in Texas right now. You have a constitutionally protected right, abortion, which women in Texas for the last 3 months have been stripped of. And the abortion providers essentially have no one to sue over it, basically, because enforcement of that restriction has been outsourced to private citizens as bounty hunters. So if this mechanism is then applied across the board, what other rights are potentially on the chopping block? And it's just so alarming that in his opinion last week, Chief Justice Roberts, who, to remind everyone, is himself a conservative, begged his colleagues not to make the decision they made because of the precedent that this would set, undermining the court's own authority.
And so according to this, how Newsom is framing this, plaintiffs would be able to sue firearms manufacturers, potentially be awarded $10,000 plus attorney's fees for that.
Sue the manufacturer. Well, that's the last person you should be suing if you get shot.
Because it is,
in my opinion,
to what the Texas legislature did in passing that law. And the idea behind all of law is that
you can sue the manufacturer, I guess, Graf, if this goes through. Well, I don't think it'll go through.
So in that respect, you would think, well, if the Supreme Court is consistent, they would uphold this effort. However, if you are cynical about the Supreme Court, you will think they don't like abortion, but they do like gun rights. So they would figure out a way to uphold the Texas restriction on abortion, but reject Newsom's effort to restrict gun rights. Personally, I'm pretty cynical about the court, and I think they would find a way to strike this down.
Well, and this does reflect anger, though, that Democrats have over what's been happening with the Texas law and how the Supreme Court has been handling that. And we've seen
it's a strange tactic to go after guns as if it's abortion.
Do you expect more of that, or what do you think when you're looking at this from a bigger picture of what kind of precedent it sets?
Well, I think that's the issue, is the precedent. And, you see right now what's happening with Newsom is he's getting a lot of applause for this move. The people are saying, finally, someone is using the tactics of the right and is turning it against them. But from a principled perspective, it really does present a problem, because you have to ask yourself, what other constitutional rights can a state decide that they simply don't like? And you see how this kind of insanity is playing out, because it was this amicus brief that was filed by a pro-gun group against the Texas ruling, saying, we want to make sure that we're protecting gun rights in the context of what's happening on the larger scale. So you have these odd bedfellows where you have a pro-gun group filing a brief that is aligning them with abortion advocates.
Let's remember who created this mess. It's the Supreme Court. If you remember your American history before the Civil War, there was John C. Calhoun and nullification. And the whole idea was that states could nullify federal laws and the federal Constitution. Now, we fought a civil war to reject that idea. However, what Texas has done is managed to take away a right that women have had in Texas for 50 years. And twice now, the Supreme Court has said that's okay. Texas could nullify this federal constitutional right. That's a very scary idea.
It's a hella scary
That's the
idea.
idea that is now out, and we'll see who gets to use it. I mean, Newsom is trying to use it in a progressive way, but once that genie is out of the bottle, it's a very scary prospect to see where it may go.
Lordy, Janet just turned 40. Again, I wanted to wait a little bit later and see if we can't get special guests up in this Discord, but gun rights are crazy. Keeping up with gun rights is even crazier. Like, knowing what is lawful and what isn't lawful in the county or state that you're in gets more and more confusing every day, it feels like. And I've gone on this rant before, and I hold firm on my position that I think our government, different states, instead of trying to build jail time around owning a firearm, you should give these manufacturers, instead of a way for the lay person to sue a manufacturer, you should be giving these manufacturers incentives to make these weapons safer for the average Joe, more difficult. We're already in kind of a between a rock and a hard place with smart guns, as we've explained in a previous episode. New Jersey is really the reason why we're in between a rock and a hard place with smart guns. They have a law that if a smart gun hits the market, that is the only gun allowed in New Jersey. Now, that's crazy. That's crazy. I've never seen a more transparent attempt to curb, people lawfully owning firearms, something that I feel like is a fundamental right we have in this country. I'm in the United States. I'm an American citizen, born here, was raised in the South, and believe that is a fundamental right. And just as fundamental as like your freedom of motion, your freedom of speech, your right to defend yourself. You were able to almost discern the Wild West from other cultures, and like the big trademark of that is a gun on a hip, and it's an American thing. It's, if I was in a country that this was something new, I would have a wholly different opinion, but like, this is something that's like a cultural American thing, and we're a fairly new country. Special guest says, here's the thing, guns are astoundingly safe for the operator, and when they aren't, you can sue them. Imagine suing the car manufacturer because a negligent driver killed someone. Exactly, special guest. I agree 100%. You shouldn't. We shouldn't be building ways to sue the manufacturers. Like, it's not that person's fault. It's just an attempt to kill an industry. Exactly, special. It's an attempt to kill an industry that could be fruitful and beneficial for everybody involved. But for some reason, there's this strange peacenik, kind of commie, fascistic, strange rhetoric behind firearms. And I noticed it just as far back as I can track in history. It feels like the genuine sentiment toward firearms in metropolitan areas changed with the death of John Lennon. When John Lennon died, it felt like suddenly, you had Harry Nilsson, who spent the rest of his life campaigning and lobbying against handguns in New York, which is wild. He could have been making music. Instead, he's not a lobbyist. Special guest says, if you want to make guns safer for the target, change the laws to allow the deployment of rubber bullets under the same circumstances as pepper spray. Yeah. Something like classify a form of ammunition as non-lethal. Or again, give these manufacturers incentives to invest in safer ammunitions for the target. Exactly, special guest. He continues to say, but I'm talking about something closer to beanbag rounds, not the baton rounds the British shot the Irish with. Yeah, straight up special. Yeah, we know that some of those non-lethal rounds in quotations are in fact it's pretty unsafe to just fire at somebody. They're designed to be ricocheted off of something, as I've had special guests explain it to me, which, would dampen the velocity, making it less lethal of a shot. But you can't expect people to catch a ricochet shot. And so, yeah, like a beanbag round, or, it's fictionalized. The concept is fictionalized pretty well in Kill Bill Volume 2, where the main character takes, I believe, rock salt loaded into a shotgun shell to the chest. Fictional, but the concept is there. It's kind of what I think what special guest is talking about. And I agree with it. I agree with that. Again, here at MURKradio, Murk himself is pro-gun. I'm pro-gun.
My dad has some ammo like that.
Oh, where it's like technically not, almost like bird shot, but like it dissolves or some shit. Like, oh shit. See, it's the way to go. I mean, energy shortly thereafter. What does it say? Special guest says, I'd suggest using the Russian model, where they have what they call traumatic pistols that shoot steel cord rubber bullets that are lethal at 6 feet, can break a jaw at 25 feet, and loses its energy shortly thereafter. Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, Special. The ammunition, it's just a very valid point. We should be getting people to invest in the technology. Okay, so this weekend, if you're a Murky that's listening from America and you've in any way been affected by the crazy storms and tornadoes, our thoughts and energies are directed at you in as positive a way as possible. We love you and we hope you're all okay. Let's see. This is a story from CBS News. Kentucky communities band together following deadly tornadoes. We had crazy tornadoes.
One of our top stories now. Several communities in Kentucky are picking up the pieces after tornadoes destroyed multiple towns throughout the state. Recovery efforts are now underway as families band together to help their neighbors. Dozens of people are believed to be missing following the storms. So joining me now is Marvis Herring from our Louisville affiliate. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've run several stories coming out of Mayfield, so we know how widespread and thorough the damage is there. It's been really hit hard. People have been displaced. I'm wondering, where are people going now? If their home was destroyed, or even if their home wasn't destroyed, but they don't have electricity and they need electricity, are there places for families to go, and are there ways in which other people can help?
That is one of the big questions. Good morning to you, Anne Marie. That's one of the big questions for many people in this area is what is next? What can I do right now? And so many of them did just grab hotels in town. We did know that many of the hotels in the nearby town of Paducah, those were all booked out. Many of the people coming in there asking for a place. And just recently, yesterday, they set up 2 different churches in Paducah as well for people to be able to go for temporary shelter. But new overnight, we have learned that FEMA is going to be sitting down a housing expert today, because the big question on the table is what is the solution for long-term housing? I mean, many of the houses looking like these buildings that you see behind me that have crumbled down or really been leveled into nothing, maybe all the way down to the foundation. So we do know that FEMA will be here, boots on the ground today, looking into a longer-term solution. But for right now, the free options are to go to 2 of these churches. I've heard people that I've spoken with over the last couple of days have told some just fantastic stories of people offering them RVs or offering to pay for them to have a hotel or even opening up their home as well. But as far as streamlined places for them to go, they've been directing them to 2 different churches over in Paducah if they can get there safely.
So, what I think of when I hear that is it's amazing how generous people can be, but also, everything has kind of this, the threat of COVID in the background. So I'm wondering if there are concerns about people gathering at these churches or gathering with other families. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Are we getting any sort of advice from the powers that be about this?
You know, there hasn't been a ton of advice. The governor has mentioned a couple of times to remember the masking. You can't really social distance, like you mentioned, when you're going over to a long-term shelter like this. But many of the people that we've been seeing coming to help, we saw a person that came from Kansas who came masked up to the house that we were at, talking to the homeowner there. Many people have been wearing those masks, but it seems as if people have kind of put COVID in the background while they try to help right now. You may not know, but Kentucky had over 2,200 new cases as of Friday, 63 more deaths as of Friday as well. So that is something that really we need to keep in mind. The whole entire state, just about the entire state, is in the red zone when it comes to incidents per capita. So really that is something that people will want to keep in mind. But the question is it really possible right now as far as social distancing goes?
I know, when you're just thinking about your day-to-day survival and all that you have lost, you know, COVID-19 just adds a whole other issue onto your plate. You mentioned that you have...
COVID adds this kind of ominous backdrop to all of this happening again. It is going to limit aid, and in my opinion, our current administration isn't handling the situation right. I don't think the previous one did either. I don't know if there is a right way to handle the COVID thing. But, you know, I'm reading here reports up into, 80 people dead from the tornadoes. They're still running active search and rescue operations. So thoughts and prayers and good energy to anybody who survived that. Deepest of condolences to anybody who's lost somebody or lost your home. I'm sorry that happened. Let's see, we have news about a cruise ship. Let's check that out real fast, gang.
An international search and investigation this morning to find a woman who went overboard on a Carnival cruise ship.
That ship is set to return to Long Beach in about an hour. Eyewitness News reporter Leticia Juarez live with reaction from a passenger on board. Good morning, Letty.
Good morning to you, Rachel. And John, I actually do want to point out right now that ship, the Miracle, is arriving right now.
Whoa, special guest for real? I'll pull that up here in just a second.
Holy shit. I can tell you, though, that the FBI, including law enforcement, are here on scene waiting for that ship to arrive here at the port of Long Beach. The ship is set to arrive around 8 o'clock.
A lady just went overboard?
There's still a lot unknown. This is what we've been able to gather so far. Now, according to a passenger we spoke to on board the ship, the Carnival ship, the Miracle, an announcement was made around 3 in the morning on Saturday about a passenger who had fallen overboard. Carnival has confirmed that a guest fell from the balcony of her stateroom into the water. The Coast Guard was assisted by the Mexican Navy in searching for the woman before allowing the ship to continue on to Ensenada on its return to Long Beach. Now, a passenger on the Miracle told eyewitnesses what he observed.
About 3 a.m., we were wakened by a general announcement across the ship with a warning going, man overboard, man overboard, man overboard. And so the ship has been giving limited information. They told us that, we were stuck, looking for the lady, and then they told us they cleared us up. The crew has been very tight-lipped, and of course, they've had different areas of the ship that have been cordoned off for their search when they were searching.
Oof.
Now, again, we are waiting to learn more from law enforcement. They are on scene waiting to dock or go on board that ship when it does dock here around 8 o'clock. We're hoping to speak with passengers as they disembark as well. Reporting live from the port of Long Beach, Leticia Juarez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Leticia, thank you for the update.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
Woo!
Great ABC 7 content by clicking the subscribe button.
Let's check out this article a special guest has submitted in the voice chat text channel real fast. Let's see. Yep. See, look, when you're a touring band, there's only one way to make money, and that's your fucking merch. And let's see, this is from NME. Tim Burgess and Peter Hook criticize venues that take a cut of merch sales. What the fuck? I can't believe that's happening. Maybe bands need to ask for a percentage of the bar take. I've negotiated a deal where I've gotten the bar take. I don't know, are people not doing that anymore? Because people should always do that. If you can push for more, look, if they want to give me, 70 to 90 of the door and like 5 of the alcohol, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? But never ever have I negotiated where they get anything from my merch sales. That has nothing to do. That's crazy. That's crazy. AKA voice chat. Yeah, we have the voice chat, the text chat, the text chat for the voice chat in Discord. On Thursday, December 9th, Burgess took to Twitter to pay big respect to those venues that don't take a percentage of bands' merch sales. This isn't about the charlatans, he explained. It's about those bands who need merch income to survive. Some places take 25%, a quarter of the full selling price. Vinyl doesn't even have that markup to begin with. Damn. Burgess went on to say that the blame doesn't solely lie with the venues. Often it's a completely separate concession company that the venue deals with as part of a contract. A kid who has never heard of the band sells our stuff, while our merch person steps aside for the night. The whole system needs addressing. Whoa. He went on to say that lots of the venue managers and staff are unhappy about this too. They aren't even aware of what happens to the money when it's paid to the concession company. They're outsourcing to concession companies to run merch stands? That's like the whole reason you bring a merch dude. That's like, oh god, that's a whole seat in the van, man. You can't do that. Catch a drink sales. Damn. I didn't know that people haven't been negotiating for a percentage of the bar. But, you know, some of my when I talk about a successful negotiation, I'm probably talking about George's Majestic in my hometown, who treated me very well. But they knew I would fill the front room. If I promised to fill the front room, they knew we would deliver. We would fill the front room. So it was easy to book. Like, you could negotiate back then, but this was 2008, 2009. Indie band negotiating with the bar, no management involved. Closest thing to management is me. So I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. So weird. Burgess then tagged O2 and asked if they were aware of the setup. Their name is attached to many of the venues that do this. It'd be great to know if their thoughts on it, and suggested maybe bands need to ask for a percentage of the bar take. Peter Hook then shared his thoughts on venues charging a commission on sales of band merchandise. I've been battling this for many years now and fully support a change to this practice. He went on to say that charging 25% commission on the gross of anything sold makes having merchandise for most bands a total vanity project. Which is true, you can't take that 25%. Like, we're already getting everything else cut in fucking half and into quarters and divvied up into different ways. Like, you don't make money from the sale of your record, you make money from the sale of the t-shirt. And they're taking 25% of that now? Fuck that. You can't make touring not worth it. You're trying to kill. Like, what are we going to have left if you don't have this as a dream to aspire to? What are musicians going to dream to do? Make something for SoundCloud and then get a deal off of SoundCloud? That doesn't happen. You got to tour and promote and do all kinds of shit. Making the record is like step one. It's a very big step, and it's one of the toughest ones, but nailing live shows and selling merch is a lot of the job. I didn't know venues were doing that. We're talking Peter Hook, and so we're not even talking like, these are what theater venues biggest 2,000 seaters max are charging 25% of t-shirt sales. That's too much. If people want actual touring bands back, this is from special guest. If people want touring bands back, y'all better hold the venues accountable. Nobody cares about your favorite watering hole except the local scenesters, and there's no scene without bands. Exactly, it's the artists that come through that make a scene. It's the bands that play with other bands and get light. It's the local openers. Like, this is the important part of, like, this is what the venue is facilitating culturally, is you should have local openers for your big acts. And if you got to take less as a venue to facilitate that, you take less as a venue to facilitate that, because you're feeding a community. You're not. Yeah, the way people are running venues now is crazy. Some of these bigger corporations, Sounds like O2 is gonna probably have to answer some shit like, what's up with this concession deal, this outsourced concession deal? Like, I have a merch guy for a reason. He's supposed to sit at this table and sell my merch. He knows where the shirts are. He knows the different sizes. He knows how many we have left. Yeah. Special, it is a lot more about buying into a scene aesthetically, which, you know, it's just weird. I give a fuck what you look like. Come listen to the music. It's just antithetical to the way the system was built and designed. It was designed to where the venues are. These venues aren't supposed to be ran by Walmart style people. It was built for a ma and pa shop venue climate. When you take that away, this is what you're fucking left with, you know? Man. Peter Hook and the Light have announced new shows, both of Joy Division's 2 albums in full. Oh, okay. That's right. So Peter Hook's a dude from Joy Division, the band, who have been performing material from Hook's old bands Joy Division and New Order since they formed in 2010. Will play both Unknown Pleasures and Closer as part of their Joy Division A Celebration tour next April. That's cool that they're doing like a celebration thing, but it sucks that, you know, look, back in the day, one of the most iconic t-shirts in the game was that Joy Division shirt. And that Joy Division shirt, dude, to think that he's getting taxed 25% off of those sales, that's like, well, where's he making any money then? Not making any money, because then out of that merch sale, you have to pay the merch dude, you have to pay the dude driving the bus. Like, none of that's covered by the label. You have to pay all your expenses with that merch money. They're taking 25%. No, I'd probably burn something down. I don't know. It ignites the inner Hebe in me and makes me. I wouldn't even sign that. I wouldn't even play that place. The first New Order record just sounds like a Lost Joy Division record, despite the vocalist change. Word Special. Okay, I knew that. I'm still kind of getting toward being into like new wave and no wave and like early punk proper. So I won't lie, I'm fairly illiterate on the subject of Joy Division. While I know the story of the lead man and very much enjoy Joy Division, I've just never, I haven't seen the film that they made. I'm almost clueless on the topic. Let's do a show on it. Right on, special guest. I'd love to. Yeah, let's do it like a Joy Division, New Order, like a new wave special. We're making a return on the channel to edited content, so you guys stay tuned this week for a whole new playlist and a whole new show. Editing it right now. It's happening. We're doing reviews, baby. Let's review that kind of stuff of all those scenes and know them as well as I know death metal. Oh, right on, special. Yeah, no, special guest has a deep cut like knowledge on a bunch of different music scenes that, you know, I'm fairly unfamiliar with. When I was a kid, we watched, Justin and I both, Chief was there. There became one all-consuming scene called Scene, and outside of it, you still had Metal Kids and all your traditional little scenes, but it almost became this comb your hair over, tight jeans, band t-shirt. It became one merging of goth and pop and metal and all the different scenes, punk. There was a little bit of everything within the what I feel like was like a super group of the scene that I was in as a kid. You know, get that comb over, boy. But that's thank you for sending that in, special guest. That was a disgusting story. I've been robbed a lot of different ways as an artist, but I'll be damned if if a venue takes a dime on my t-shirt sales. Just because I sold it here doesn't mean that you get to fucking own it, you know. Basically, emo just came in and laid waste to everything else. They patched them all over like biker gangs. Yeah, special guest. Well, and by the end of it, there's times where it's, you'll have people who are within the scene that don't like what's called emo and might get mad if you call them emo because they're like deathcore dudes, They're they're into that. What was the band? There was a band that they were metal as fuck, no breakdowns. That was my favorite thing about their record. They were like, no breakdowns. Anti-breakdown core. Even the grind people got all seeny weeny with it, with the comb overs, and I had it. I had the skunk stripe, had the comb over, skinny jeans. Justin was there, Chief was there. They saw it. Justin and I damn near matched at one point aesthetically, probably. Like we definitely look like we were in the same band.
Well, I think we were for a week or two.
We damn straight we were. No, exactly. That's kind of what I mean by that. Like, yeah, no, we definitely looked the part, Let's see, special guest says, and no one seems to know what grindcore is, but they called anything and everything fast and chaotic grindcore. For me, there was really only one grindcore band thrown around as a kid, and that was Dillinger. Dillinger Escape Plan was a band that was, if somebody said grindcore, they'd probably like, oh, Dillinger Escape Plan? Yeah.
I remember everyone calling Heavy Low grindcore.
Oh yeah, and that's about as that's a misrepresentation.
Yeah, it's the most nonsensical representation ever.
Yeah, Heavy Low has its moments, but that's mostly just like nothing core. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's done that or will do that again, probably.
Someone just took the epitome of scene, threw it in a blender with nothing but chaos, and that's what came out.
Mm-hmm. Two vocalists, right?
Neither of which could sing.
I loved that back in the day when scene bands would have like two screamers and then one of the instrumentalists is the singer. And it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? Does it sound like Napalm's second record or Carcass's first record? It's grindcore. Oh yeah. Well, see, yeah, I guess. A lot of people my age might be like, does it sound like Calculating Infinity? It's grindcore. Does it sound like Dillinger Escape Plan? Specifically Calculating Infinity, because if you get to like the Black Bubblegum stuff, you're like, all right, well, this is Dillinger Escape Plan goes pop. They went pop at it. I like that era of Dillinger, by the way. They're like, let's make poppy rock and roll songs for a hot minute. They lost Chris Penny, so it's like, well, you don't have... Coheed had Chris Penny for a minute, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do drum-wise? What you going to do? And they were like, they kind of went with that, like, breakdown pop.
I listened to Coheed for the first time in years this morning.
Oh, shit, that's a good time. I put on Good Apollo on Burning Star 4 Volume 1 the other day, and, man, that's a good time. That's a good time. I heard a review that described In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, the album, as it's like they said it sounds like a bunch of dudes who knew their material really well, walked into the studio, set up a few mics, and just Marshall amps loud. And it has this like raw live band energy. Like they're like In Keeping Secrets. It sounds like Marshall amps too, which is not my favorite sound, but with Coheed it works, You're like, all right, it's like somewhere between the Police.
Their tone just worked for them, and specifically them. Anyone else that tried to do it, it just sounded weird.
Yeah. And it's like the only tone you can really build if you're trying to because they have songs that are structured, like if them at their poppiest, it's structured like the Police, but it sounds like Rush. So what amplification should you use? I guess Marshall, particularly for that record. Special guest says that's how they recorded Funhouse. Yeah, no, and it definitely has this. There's the Coheed and Cambria record In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. It has this almost Funhouse, these like Funhouse moments of energy. This very much like throwback not just in their style and in the way they've composed the song, it's the way it's recorded. It very much feels, there's like almost Stooges moments, but with the precision of Rush. If you can imagine like someone like like Geddy Lee is holding a scalpel made of just like, you know, diamond tipped like Iggy Pop energy. They're carving a song like that, but with these tools. They're a good band. I suggest Coheed and Cambria for anybody who likes guitar work, period. If you like guitars, those are the records. They're really good records. And when that bass pops too. They've had a couple good bass players through that band. And as a bass player, primarily, that's what I'm showing up for. When I was a kid, when they were releasing records, I was like, let's hear this bass work, and they don't disappoint. You want to hear someone do some fills? They're there. Man, okay. 6 Amazon employees have passed away after the tornado in Illinois. Have you guys heard this story? An Amazon warehouse collapse. Let's check this out. This has been nothing but grim news this weekend. This weekend was apparently rough. This is a hard recap. I put like Daily News and Chill as the title of today's video. Not expecting a lot of views. So if you guys are, if you don't mind liking, sharing it to your social media, inviting your friends.
John, good morning, and I can tell you
greatly
that
appreciated.
Here brings a steady stream of construction crews trying to remove the debris from what's left of that warehouse that an EF3 tornado just laid absolute waste to on Friday. It struck about 8:30 p.m. Amazon tells us that they now know there were 46 people inside that massive building, about the size of a football field, when this tornado struck. Over the weekend, the death toll rose to 6. The names and ages of those individuals were released late yesterday. Crews were able to arrive on this scene within just a few minutes after the tornado struck, because this really was the spot, John, that the tornado unleashed its fury. We're in the Edwardsville area. It was largely spared. This facility was not. They were able to get the overwhelming majority of those employees out safely through the rubble. However, that came at the loss of 6 lives when the walls and the roof partially caved in as a result of those incredibly powerful winds. Amazon, meanwhile, has donated $1 million to a local Edwardsville charity to help anyone impacted by this storm. I can tell you that standing here today, one of the most telling images has been tow trucks leaving the scene, and they have cars that were parked around this building that look as if they had been placed inside of a compactor, completely unrecognizable as to the make or model of the vehicle. And even though this tornado hit in just a few seconds, it gives you real pause knowing how much power it brought through this area. We confirmed with the National Weather Service that this twister touched down barely a quarter mile away. We know that sirens went off around 8 o'clock inside the building. It was at that point that the employees kind of split up into 2 groups to seek shelter. There was a designated shelter area inside the warehouse. We don't know how many were there, but we do know that whoever was on the southern edge of this building took the brunt of this storm. That's left so many people in this community struggling to move on from this loss of life. John?
Shit. Damn, dude. If you're in the middle to the east of the country, thoughts and prayers to you. Positive energy at Arianthe. I know she said in the Discord she had some pretty massive property damage where she's at in the Ozarks, and man, just what a shitstorm. Ash reacts to Meadows. Imagine if Hillary Clinton did that. Let's see here. Let's check on Ghislaine Maxwell. I know the defense has rest, and it almost feels like she might get off. 2 days ago. Let's check this story out real fast. If you got him, smoke him.
Maxwell's fourth and final accuser took the stand Friday. Annie Farmer testifying that she was just 16 when the British socialite and her companion Jeffrey Epstein forced themselves on her.
Whoa.
Annie Farmer is yet another accuser, but the only one using her actual name. And she does connect up Maxwell with Epstein.
Farmer told the jury that she met the pair through her older sister and was invited to Epstein's sprawling New Mexico ranch in 1996, saying in court, "It made me feel special that they wanted to spend time with me." But she said that visit took a troubling turn when she was pressured into a massage by Maxwell, who rubbed Farmer's naked chest, later adding that Epstein got into bed with her, pressing his body against hers. "I think this was all a pattern of them confusing my boundaries," she said.
Whoa.
In 2019, Farmer and her sister came forward with a complaint against Epstein, but withdrew their lawsuits the following year. In Friday's testimony, Farmer said she received $1.5 million from a fund for Epstein's victims. Over 10 days of testimony, 3 other witnesses shared graphic encounters with Maxwell, alleging she targeted underage girls and groomed them for sex with Epstein and other high-profile men. Maxwell has denied any wrongdoing. Trial resumes next week, when the defense is expected to begin its case.
The biggest question is whether or not Maxwell will testify. If you're just playing the odds are she will not. But we've seen an unbelievable number of defendants in high-profile cases testify in just the last few weeks.
For today, Kathy Park, NBC News.
Lordy, lordy.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel.
No, Al Roker, you're not welcome for watching your YouTube channel. I hate it. Man.
Minimum 2 week stays to those that don't have.
We got a live press conference from Kentucky, guys. Let's tune in.
A place to call their own at the moment. I want to provide room availability as of 1 p.m. today. Kentucky Dam Village, there are still 30 rooms available for families. Ken Lake State Resort Park, 58 rooms available. And we also have hookup outlets that can be used for washers and dryers, and we will accept donations of those to help people out, and the park will accept donations to help the people that they are helping out. The First Lady in just a little bit is going to have some good news with our state parks, where we're going to try to lift up the people staying there. Lake Barkley, we are awaiting electricity to be restored. When that happens, we'll open up 56 additional rooms. But even with the lights not going, the park hosted a blood drive today. So thank you.
A blood drive with no power.
30 rooms available. John James has 1 cottage available. Penny Ryle is full. That's right near Dawson. So that WPA project is where my grandparents met. Then the Rough River Dam State Resort Park, 47 rooms available. Again, families who are in need of emergency housing should contact their local emergency management office to request lodging. But hey, if you show up there and you need help, they ought to help you call your local emergency management folks from the park. Volunteers are needed at Ken Lake, Kentucky Dam Village, Rough River Dam, and Lake Barkley State Parks. And I know our folks are watching. It says walk-ins are not accepted. It's not okay. If somebody walks in, call emergency management with them and work through it. Do not turn anybody away at any of our state parks. Let's work to confirm that they need our help. Make sure that they are in a warm place and that they are fed while it's going on. And we're not going to not accept people that need help. Many of our agriculture operations reside in western Kentucky and were impacted by the historic tornadoes that devastated the area. We're already working with many of them, dead livestock, major operations, helping to remove the carcasses and ultimately provide the support that's necessary. To do that, I've created an agriculture working group. The working group will work with my office, the executive branch, and any other entities deemed necessary. We've been in constant communication with the people in this working group the past 48 hours, and we remain dedicated to addressing the needs of so many farmers.
Rest in
that
peace,
area.
Arianthes goat.
With that, I'm going to turn it over.
Rest in
to,
peace, all this other livestock.
Dawson,
Holy
for
shit!
his update, and then we're going to get uplifted by the First Lady. We're going to make sure our kids don't miss out on their Christmas.
What up, Rich? Hey, dude.
Thank you, Governor. And again, our hearts and prayers go out to the families of the loved ones lost and those who are still missing. So just a brief update. Our power picture improved a bit. We have at this point 26,500. They're still out of power again. Managing
that's
expectations.
So many people.
Some of the large transmission towers, and these are the ones that you saw during the ice storm of 2009. These are the massive metal structures that carry the transmission lines, have buckled. That will take weeks to months to put back up, but that should not impact the large numbers. So I'll go over very briefly counties with excess over 500 customers outage. Graves, Callaway, Marshall equal about 14,000. Hopkins, 6,500. Christian, 2,000. Hickman, 1,200. Fulton, 900. Todd, 700.
Right on, special. I got it loaded up for after this after this press conference winds down.
We're moving forward very quickly. You've obviously seen, if you're in the impact area, you've seen many contractors that are over target assisting in the power restoration.
What, Rich?
If you don't have power, life is not good, and we're doing everything we can.
Damn, really, Christy? You heard that?
96 or 95% of those lines assessed across the state. Again, 29 transmission lines are down, and those are the large ones. We have no decrease in numbers for telephone poles and power poles that are down. It's 8,000 and only 3 of those large co-ops across the state. So expect a delay in putting the new
street
poles
lights
in.
are just
That is,
folded. Those metal poles are just folded over.
String the wires. So a little update on the water and sewer systems. Currently out of the impact area, most all of the systems are operating.
Yeah, special. That's why I was confused by Rich's statement too. I'm like, what?
One in South Hopkins and one in Morton's Gap are about to come back online. We have provided a generator for that power to power their water system, so that should be fine. James, if you could bring up the one slide, please. And this is a slide that depicts the actual number of tornadoes. So we now have 5 tornadoes identified.
Holy
you'll see the,
shit.
Confirmed is red, unconfirmed is blue, and the dots happened outside of our state. So the longest track, I believe we're up to an estimated 227 miles. That would be one of the longest in U.S. history, if not the longest. And you can see the track of that. And if you reflect on the counties that the governor read off that were added, we included each and every county that these 5 tornadoes impacted. Now, a lot of the damage is radar indicated. So when we see radar debris fields, we know that something was hit, and it could be only a barn or an outbuilding, or it could have been a commercial building or some homes. It could be a small part of a subdivision. So we've included all of those counties. So we asked for and received a presidential.
Special guest cracking me up. He's seen some Mississippi shit, but he was in Arkansas so long. He's got our Archie gift of gab. So it's like the story starts hard with like I've seen pine straw jammed into the board of a house sideways and curtains sucked halfway out the window around the edge of where the window glass itself sits in the frame. Yeah, you'll see some kooky stuff in the South in particular. The further you get down to special guests stomping grounds when he was a kid, the crazier weather you see, honestly. Some of the swampland gets some crazy weather. Kentucky. Growing up where I did in Arkansas, where you would see the tornadoes happen, is Oklahoma. I think one time we had a tornado touchdown in a town I was living in northwest Arkansas called Centerton. And it seemingly touched down directly on top of my cousin's house. And it destroyed their house. It was like the only house destroyed in this strange act of nature. But I'm telling you, Yeah, Rich. Sometimes shit just goes sideways. It does feel like the universe itself reaches down and just collapses that structure.
Declaration, as the governor indicated, this is not just.
How did Alexander Hamilton describe the hurricane he saw? What was it? Destruction so immense it brought astonishment to the eyes of angels, or some shit. It's like that. Like sometimes, yeah, natural catastrophes or catastrophes.
FEMA leaning forward. This is the fastest in our history, and it normally doesn't occur in other states.
Sideways icicles.
Thank you to the president, all the way down to Gracious Sheck, our regional.
That's crazy, Christy. Maybe a couple times in my life.
Governor's declaration to go up there. It was signed very quickly yesterday, and now we've added on 20 additional counties. Again, I want to manage expectation. The fact that those 20 were sent up to FEMA does not mean we're going to be granted 20. I will tell you in conversations, they're going to assess groups of counties. They can't just turn on approval for 20 counties. So it's
right, special.
And we will
That's just how Hamilton wrote, though.
But these 5 tornadoes are confirmed by radar. The ones that are unconfirmed, the Weather Service has not finished their survey. And quite frankly, as you've heard the governor state previously, and I'm in belief of this construct, this will be one of the large ones. An EF3 is bad. That's 155. But with this type of damage, we basically, and again, you've heard it said many, many times, I've been on site, and thank you to all the first responders, many of them out there doing their job when the wind was still blowing and debris was flying, rescuing people.
Oof.
The long and the short of it is, we don't really know by any stretch of the imagination of all the infrastructure damage yet. So that's yet to be determined. And that's just a brief update of where we're at 4 p.m. today.
Ooh. Shout out the first responders. It sounds like they were dealing with like the equivalent of an active firefight, like being out in like active debris flying, rescuing people.
County 17.
Shout out, dude.
Is accurate, and that's where we're up to. So
some bravery.
That's one miracle we did not get 74 lost Kentuckians as of now.
Fuck.
And that number is going to grow. So, Brittany, we could use some good news.
This weekend, like everyone across our Commonwealth, I was devastated to see the destruction in so many of our Western Kentucky communities. These tornadoes would have marked one of the most awful days in our state's history, no matter when they struck.
Something in it.
That's even more painful that this tragedy happened just a few weeks before Christmas. Especially during this time of year, we all look forward to being home for the holidays, spending time with those who mean the most to us. Now, many of our families don't have a home to go to, or even worse, they've lost someone they love who made their family whole. As a mom, wife, daughter, and friend,
ooh.
As a mom, wife, daughter, and friend, Brittany can only imagine the pain and grief that Kentuckians are feeling at the moment. She knows so many of you feel the same way and wants to know how you can help make this season a little easier for those that are hurting. We are humbled by the countless individuals, organizations, first responders who sprung into action to deliver emergency supplies and shelter to their neighbors in need. We've already announced the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund and encouraged everyone to contribute if you're able. Again, you can donate at teamwkrelieffund.ky.gov. Get me. To start with, this fund is going to help cover funeral expenses for those we tragically lost in the storm. We are proud to announce that we have now had 44,358 donations, well over $6 million. The Relief Fund is going to help families affected by the tornadoes address some of their most urgent needs No administrative fees. All of it is going to go to those families. Want me to keep going?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
On top of that, with Christmas just around the corner, we want to help Western Kentucky parents and guardians, despite this devastation, make the holidays special for their kids. That's why we're launching the Western Kentucky Christmas Toy Drive, so people across the state can come together to make this Christmas special for as many babies, kids, and teens as possible who need our love and support more than ever. Here's how it'll work. Starting tomorrow morning, December 14th through Saturday, December 18th, you can drop off new, unwrapped toys, games, books, or technology in its original packaging to a number of locations across the state.
Okay, so if you guys have anything to donate or anything you would, even as small as Super Chat, try to get it to this Kentucky Toy Drive, I'd say drop-off locations and more are available at the at firstlady.ky.gov/toy drive. So if you feel like donating or you got anything extra, hit that up. There's a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people, a growing fatality number.
You can also donate $25 Visa MasterCard gift cards labeled with the dollar amount. We are asking for $25 cards, so it will be easier to give a consistent amount to families in need. But we encourage you to buy multiple $25 cards if you are able.
Straight up special.
These gift cards also give people the opportunity to shop locally when possible and support businesses that were also hurt by the storm. There will be 13 regional Kentucky State Police posts collecting donations, as well as local police stations in Independence, Lexington, Louisville, and
What up,
Paducah.
Erica? I've been concerned for some of the American Murkies. How are you doing?
Hub for anyone who wishes to mail a donation from anywhere.
How's
in the
everything
state.
been?
In addition, in Covington, the Kentucky County Government Center will be accepting donations. Finally, we will be announcing a few additional locations in Lexington tomorrow. Please visit firstlady.ky.gov/toy drive for collection center addresses and hours, as well as the mailing address for Broadbent Arena. If your school, neighborhood, workplace, or another community group is already hosting its own toy drive or wants to start one, this is great news. Once you've collected toys, we are happy to help
Right on,
you get
Erica.
them to
Good.
one of the 20
Makes
central
me happy to
locations
hear
listed to our
that
website by
Erica's
this
doing
Saturday
good.
so we can handle transportation to Western Kentucky. Couple of things to remember. Please do not wrap the gifts, as we need to know exactly what they are as we sort and organize them. You can donate wrapping paper, tags, bows, and more, which we will distribute to parents and guardians. We are not accepting clothing donations as part of this toy drive, but we do encourage you to seek out other organizations who are running clothing drives if you are interested in making those kinds of donations.
Heck yeah,
Again,
Erica.
We will be collecting these
Make
gift
that
items
dough.
beginning tomorrow through Saturday the 18th. We will share information later this week about where our eligible Western Kentucky families in need can go to pick up gifts. We anticipate pickup times will begin this weekend and early next week ahead of Christmas Eve. Last, but certainly not least, I want to thank our number one partner in this effort, who I know can't wait to visit Kentucky soon, Santa Claus. Just like when we collected 2.4 million masks during Coverings for Kids, I know our people are going to come together to make Toys for Team Western Kentucky an incredible success. As Kentuckians, we come together when times are tough. We look out for each other, and no matter the challenges we face, we will get through it together. Merry Christmas, Kentucky. Let's make it special for these kids and families who have been through so much and show them that we're going to be with them every step of the way.
All right. If dealing with all this, and thank you. If dealing with all this isn't enough, we have a pandemic. It's continuing, and it's continuing to take lives of Kentuckians. as an update, every Monday we start with Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's numbers and go through some of the rest. 2,308 new cases on Saturday, with 55 new deaths, with individuals as young as 38 years old. Sunday, 989 new cases, 37 new deaths. Again, losing Kentuckians in their 40s. 27-year-old man in Laurel County, so as young as in their 20s. Today, Monday, 1,089 new cases, which is actually less than last Monday. Now, it may potentially be that we're getting fewer tests from different regions with everything going on. We'll have to wait and see. 28 new deaths. Again, Kentuckians who are far too young on that list. Positivity rate today is down just a little bit from where it's been at 8.78%. Still way too high, but we were above 9 and have now crept down a little bit. 1,253 Kentuckians in the hospital due to COVID, 315 in our ICUs, 181 fighting for their life.
All right. We're at the raw statistics of everybody harmed. There's this, again, horrible gray backdrop of COVID looming in the midst of this Kentucky catastrophe. Catastrophe in Kentucky. And they're going to have issues with their medical resources and the allocation thereof. Erica says there's tons of COVID ramping up there, and that is unfortunate. There's tons of COVID ramping up seemingly everywhere in the United States right now. I know it's where my kid is right now. My home state has become like, you know, a place with the most reported cases in that tri-state area. And that freaks me out a little bit. People there just won't comply, you know. But we have a story here from Yahoo News sent to us by a special guest. It's apparently relevant to the Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein situation. But the title of the headline for this story is "Sex Guru Still Preaching to 1 million Followers While He's on the Run from the Cops." So apparently there's a sex guru still preaching to people while running from the police. Let's check this out. To hear him tell it, there isn't much that self-proclaimed God-man Paramahasma Nithyananda can't do with his alleged supernatural powers. Want to hear a cower monkey speak Sanskrit? He's your man. Heal the blind? Check. ESP? Stop sunrise? See through walls? The Swami says he can do all of these and more. And if you swear your fealty to him and start making donations, he'll teach you how to do them. I'm going to call him Nith right now because his name is Nithyananda. But Nith, who claims to be the physical embodiment of Lord Shiva, is the man skeptics and debunkers love to hate. But he's pulled off a couple of tricks that not even his most strident detractors can explain. For example, managing to flee India one step ahead of the law without valid travel papers back in 2019. Or how he continues to evade justice to this day, despite being wanted by Interpol on charges of rape and kidnapping. Let me tell you how Nith pulled this off. We have some, like a character in the past, like the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, Osho, as he's referred to now by modern day Rajneeshis. He did this. He fled India the same way. He has ins everywhere. He heard that the law was going to be coming after him. He managed to get on a plane before that shit popped off. He can bounce around. He's got, he's also a established religious figure. So who knows what country accepts him as a religious figure on the immigration documents and stuff. So he might. It's hard to catch people like Nithyananda. Naranjan Nayak, the president of the Federation of Indian Rationalist Associations, FIRA, called Nith a fraud and a cheat in an interview with the Daily Beast. But how he managed to get out of the country is a mystery because his passport had expired long back, he said. Nayak has publicly challenged the claims of paranormal powers made by the Swami and his legions of followers. He has also designed tests in which the miracle workers are asked to show off their gifts in a controlled setting without hidden cameras or other aids. The inability to repeat their feats under monitored conditions does nothing to persuade Nithyananda's true believers, and some have gone so far as to threaten Nayak for exposing their parlor tricks. One such vengeance seeker even vowed to cast a curse that would get what? Carcinoma of the penis? A curse that I would get carcinoma of the penis, said Nayak. So someone cursed Nayak with carcinoma of the penis, which is wild. Who described his metaphysical assailant as a woman disciple of Nithyananda's, who said she already granted cancer of the brain to someone who had challenged her man. Whoa. Little background on Nith. Nith, 43, began practicing yoga at the age of 3. He later roamed the Himalayas as part of his spiritual training before opening his own ashram in the Indian state of Karnataka. In 2003. He served as chairman of the Hindu University of America. Although exiled and in hiding, he remains wildly popular on social media. His Facebook page alone boasts some 1.1 million followers, and he often surfaces to drop video clips of full grandiose statements, such as claiming that he and only he could cure India's COVID woes. Though some of his pronouncements look like jokes, they are all calculated to bring more attention to himself and serve as clickbait, Nayak said. Nayak isn't the only critic to lock horns in public with Nith. Journalist Nakahiran Gopal helped bring light to some of Swami's alleged wrongdoings and wound up in court. A nationally acclaimed Indian journalist who operates his own magazine and website, Gopal told the Daily Beast he published secretly recorded videos that he said exposed Nith's sexual indulgence with young sannyasi mendicant girls in his ashram. In a resulting lawsuit, the God-man and his lawyers contended the videos were morphed or computer-generated, according to Gopal. The court found and held that the clippings were not morphed and dismissed his suit. A sex tape starring the so-called sex Swami surfaced in 2010, and in that case, too, he had tried to claim that the video was faked, although forensic experts eventually testified otherwise. But videos coming to light were just the start of Nith's trouble. He was later accused of rape by an American woman, Arthi Rao, who had come to study yoga and meditation under him, and who later stated that she thought she was having sex with a god. So he was pulling this god cult stuff. This is crazy. This is wild. He had a whole game figured out. He was grooming people. It's very similar to like Bikram, or some of the alleged abuses that happen within the Rajneesh movement. Bio-wizard fight, says special guest. Hold up. Omicron is hyper-transmissible, but has an astoundingly low amount of severe cases as compared to the earlier variants, says special. Yeah. Well, from what I've read, and I've been trying to read wide, Osho clip in VC chat is the Bio-wizard fight. Hold up, what do you got going on, special guest? Let's see what he's dropped us in the voice chat here. Oh yeah, no, I've seen that clip, dude. Yeah. Shots fired from Osho. Osho would speak his mind. We were talking before the show. I used to work in a predominantly Indian community, and understanding that in India, every 50 miles is not just a different guru or religion or established faith. There's also probably a different language written on the street signs, and its own little hyper vernacular kind of way of speaking, even if it's split between, there's just a variety of languages and faiths in that country. It's very diverse in that way. And, you'll see characters like this pop up throughout India's history, much like any other Orthodox country, which again, it fascinates me endlessly because like the concept of like guruism is a little outside of like you build your own orthodoxy. So you have like a day in India, like a day of celebration, like a holiday. That's like Guru Day, like this is where everybody celebrates their different respective gurus. And that's interesting, like the bending and adaptation, the ancient structure India still follows. Fascinates me endlessly. And also the fact that it's, much like, a lot of people who follow an Orthodox faith, whether it be a guru that you follow or YouTube videos you just know are absolutely right, there's always room for perversion, and there's always room for people like this to pop up, doomsayers or fake messianic figures. Some people who their prime motive is to be a sexual predator. I think a lot about the guy from Holy Hell. There's a Netflix docu. Check it out, Holy Hell on Netflix. It's about the Buddha Field cult, and it started off as a yoga thing. There's a dude who runs the cult, and again, the fascinating thing to me about that cult and that story in particular is he's preying on men. He's preying on straight adult men and getting them to pay to be hypnotized, and he's doing things to them. And it's a horrific and interesting and just fascinating documentary. When we hit we've covered it in the Tattered Map a little bit. When we hit a certain period of time where Jesus freaks and religion became a very safe thing. And I heard the other day a testimony from someone of the baby boomer generation saying that on the West Coast they felt like they had two options. They had to choose between Scientology or yoga. And the fact that teenagers on the West Coast at any point in time, even if it was just a 1 year for one generation, felt pressured to choose between yoga or Scientology, I think that's pretty, significant to things we talk about in the Tattered Map. And it's significant in understanding things like how this guy can pop off in America the way he has. This dude hits a Western market hard, 1.1 million followers. Now, while India is massive, again, it's a very diverse, split nation. Watching their C-SPAN is sometimes like watching a fight, an actual fist fight. And, he plays very well to that. The generation that their parents chose yoga when they had to choose between Scientology or yoga, you still have, I think, being a generational thing. We have some words from special guest here in the chat. Let's see, he says, it's indicative of the 1st Earth Battalion doing exactly what it was designed to, yoga/Scientology. Absolutely, special guest. Yeah, you have people who incorporate like cults that popped up and movements, religious or spiritual movements that popped up that incorporate a little bit of everything. Eastern philosophy, the esoteric, whatever flavor of esotericism they've picked up through the years. We've covered on the stream in the past, I don't know if we still have it posted to the YouTube channel or not, but we covered all of the Heaven's Gate tapes, and Heaven's Gate was fascinating to me because it's a Christian offshoot. And I don't think there's enough airtime given in the history of talking about kooky stuff that happened in the West Coast in the 60s and 70s. I don't think there's enough airtime given to the Jesus freak movement. Like Christianity, I feel like there was a third option that this lady's not talking about, where you could be a Jesus freak, you could be a Scientologist, or you could do yoga and kind of do the Source family shit. It's just an interesting time, and I think in a time that was, again, to sound conspiratorial, that's my point, is The government's responsible for a lot of that having popped off. And I think the reason this dude plays so well in the West is they want this shit to happen. They want these people to group up and be labeled and seem extreme. Serve a purpose. You know, why is this dude able to fucking bounce around the way he does? Because he's a baller that has like his own little smuggling thing, man. Or some of his followers are pilots. That's a big that's a big one. You know, when you know a pilot, the game has changed. Like, now I can get you to so and so, I can get you from here to here to here to here, and you're out of jurisdiction, baby. Let's see, special guest says, hey, at the same time it was happening, all these different overtly satanic murders start happening as well. And yeah, we were kind of, we dip into that on the Tattered Map. I recently rewatched the Sons of Sam documentary on Netflix, and, you know, the process was out there. I feel like a couple of the characters from the early days of the process are still out there. And there was definitely, let's say, a fourth option. You could be a Jesus freak, you could be a Scientologist, you could do yoga, or you could join the process. Or a process offshoot. Let's say you want to be in the family or the children or any of the various process offshoots that popped up once they hit the West Coast. It just blew up like an atomic bomb, irradiating the rest of the cult scenes from the East to the West Coast. There's evidence of the process church of the final judgment being a game changer for the way all cults are structured in America. You know, even something like this, you know, you saw it dip into the Rajneeshis processian thinking. You saw like the doomsday show up, even in the Rajneeshis, toward the end of Osho's life. Weird. He wasn't like that before the process. People who partied with members of the process showed up, like that processian thinking, that showed up with Hollywood's money. It's weird. It's a weird connection. And Lydon and LaRoche's group, that was another one where they felt they didn't have an option between acid leftist and hardcore communist. Yeah, special. Yeah. You would, it starts once a movement becomes so strong, it starts looking fascistic. I think that's one of my favorite messages within Dune is, you know, early on in the book, Paul Atreides has a vision of the jihad in his name. And suddenly what his life is and what he's doing has a completely different context to it. That while what he thought was maybe a destined place to be is actually, you know, there's a lot more eggs cracked than he thought. And understanding how fascistic and overwhelming and all-consuming an ideology can become is fucking dangerous. It's fucking dangerous. It's weird. Interesting way to manipulate people. Special guest says they started hard left, shifted hard right, and then created a huge private intelligence network. He's talking about, so LaRoche's organization, which was eventually tied to Mitch Warbel, filled that void. Gotcha. A real example of Yakiism. Yakiism, if anybody is unfamiliar, is I have it kind of quantified in my head just for shorthand as a modern Nazism. You know, it's kind of a post-World War II National Socialist ideology created by a man named Yaki. Published by a man named Yaki, however you want to word it. Yakiism is a fucking scary, man. Just anything that's big and fashy, and you know, if you go from looking like, you know, you're in a psychedelic band to looking like the second half of the movie The Wall, like you have entered fascistic territory. You are dabbling in fascistic, not just ideology, but art and aesthetic. And that shit can get weird, overwhelming, and all-consuming. I don't feel you can have a democracy with elements of that constantly stoked, and I don't know why it feels like the government does it on purpose. But maybe they know something about the inevitability of it, and that's what they're trying to curb. Sorry, again, I'm trying to sound conspiratorial today, guys. Special guest said his organization was called the National Caucus of Labor Committees, or the NCLC. Their people lived like 6 people to an apartment, sleeping on bare mattresses and eating oatmeal and gathering intel. Holy shit. And flash mobbing and gang stalking, all for political purposes. Talking about LaRoche. So LaRoche apparently, okay, so special guest is telling us LaRoche had an organization. Yeah. The National Caucus of Labor Committees. And it was ran like some kind of political activist cult. What do? They sleep on bare mattresses, eat oatmeal, probably wear uniform-like attire, and go do fascistic things. And these are people who aren't even going to have the mental calories to deviate from the way of thinking you've built for them. That shit freaks me out. Eat some carrots, dude. Eat some carrots. If you're... That's wild. I can't believe that's happened. And in the history
do you have any idea?
Press conferences still crack-a-lacking.
Ghislaine Maxwell's fourth and final accuser took the stand
That's
Friday.
back to the Epstein accuser, the Maxwell accuser. See, I wonder what Jameson has to say just while I accidentally passed back through Maxwell about a witness on the stand who previously took a settlement from a victim fund. It seems weird that she's allowed to give testimony. I'm glad she is. Personally, glad she is. I feel like wouldn't that be a problem for a judge and a jury? I don't know. Couldn't the defense spin that? Wouldn't you want to avoid that person as a witness? It's just ugh. Ugh. I want wanted fugitive now, yo. Molly Golightly's live. What do you got going on, Aunt Molly?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
I'll jump down. Bye.
You're sweet. Hi, Andra.
What, Molly?
Hi.
I would like to know how they could take a warrant for you for going in a shack on a road with holes in the roof.
Oh, Molly's got a warrant out. Yeah. Well, she was probably on some property and filming places she shouldn't have been. It's okay. Look, man, you got to do things in the name of buck wildiness. Sometimes you got to be that wild card, and you catch charges maintaining that status as a wild card. She knows this. She's ready. She's ready. Let's see. Mansion sounds and absolutely no rush to move ahead on the social spending. Sounds about right. Ooh, we have another in public shooting, guys. Let's check this out. This is from 3 hours ago from Houston News.
And now to a developing story that we have been following that has left one person in Baytown dead and more than a dozen others hurt.
Yeah, this happened during a vigil last night. KPRC2's Brittany Jeffers is in Baytown this morning with the very latest.
Truly a tragedy for everyone involved. We've learned from the Harris County Sheriff's Office that the victim in this case, a person in their 20s, died here at the hospital, and at this point they're still looking for the gunman. As a crowd gathered for a vigil near North Market Loop near Thompson Road on Sunday night in Baytown, gunfire erupted.
There were individuals here for a celebration of life, like I said. Right as they were releasing the balloons up in the air was when the vehicle came, and almost at that exact time is when they opened fire into a crowd. Again, there were about 50 people, we're told, that were gathered here, so it was a pretty large crowd. We don't know. Again, one's been pronounced deceased at the hospital, another one's critical.
Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says the gunman took off in a dark-colored sedan after firing multiple shots into the crowd, striking several people. In all, 14 were injured. In a tweet this morning, we've learned from the sheriff's office that a 25-year-old woman, Daisha Allen,
women died at the hospital. Others were treated at the hospital, some with serious gunshot wound injuries.
It's just awful. I mean, even just adults. I mean, it's just so dangerous, and those bullets don't have, eyes or anything, and so it just puts everybody at risk.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office is also investigating this. An abandoned vehicle was set on fire just 2 miles from the shooting scene near 6700.
Well, that's fucking related.
Investigators on the
This
scene
sounds like
say
a hit
that
job.
It may be the alleged shooter's car because it matches the make and model. Now, investigators say they don't have a motive for the shooting at this point and are still actively looking for that suspect. If you have any information that might help out investigators, contact the Harris County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. In Baytown, I'm Brittany Jeffers, KPRC 2 News.
Specialist reminds me of the Brabant killings. It does, special. It reminds me of a few different things. It is seemingly gang related, in my opinion. Again, while we don't know motive, I'm just speculating wildly. But that car, this is sus as fuck. The burnt out automobile right here. Now, there must have been a shitload of evidence involved in that. I mean, you can still figure out who the fuck's car that was. Was it a stolen automobile, I wonder? And there's like a little burst of crime to commit a hit. It sounds like there was a specific person maybe they were going for at this vigil or something, or maybe just trying to cause chaos. But, oof. Fingers crossed I get to the end of this. I'm gonna pin this to my board of follow this. This happened in Houston. Make a little note real quick. Because I got a feeling my money is on gang-related hit. Special guest says, if stolen, that handles it. Any and all DNA fingerprint evidence. Yeah, exactly, Special. Yeah, if this isn't something you can trace back to a person and trace back to a group of people, then yeah. But I definitely say more than one person. Probably gang violence. Sounds like a hit. Sounds like there was a reason they shot that specific place up. There's definitely heavy motive in my opinion, and I bet you the cops will suss it out. Hopefully. It's Texas, so they better. There's a lot of reputation of that. There's a lot of reputation of this kind of shit getting solved. So it better. Pop back in and see if we have anything. Oh, sorry. Let's see. We have 2 arrested after car almost crashed into Florida officer at Christmas parade.
Developing now, a man in Winter Garden, he's expected to make his first court appearance today.
Well, he is accused of crashing his car near a crowded Christmas parade. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is live in Winter Garden this morning. And Randy, an off-duty officer actually chased that man down.
Yeah, good morning. I know people are pleased and just thankful he was in the right place at the right time, quickly jumping into action to help officers get this scene under control. I want to show you some video of that scene at this Christmas parade. Take a look at your screen. Winter Garden police say Terrius Baker was speeding and nearly hit an officer who tried to stop him. The parade hadn't started downtown, but people were already lining the streets in anticipation for that event to start. Police say Baker did hit a vehicle driving in the same direction, got out of his car and started to run. An off-duty Kissimmee police officer was waiting for the parade to start, saw what was happening, quickly jumped into action, holding Baker down until other officers could arrive.
It was just a reflex. Like, I didn't picture myself just chasing out somebody. Like, I work in Kissimmee, but I live in Winter Garden, so I didn't think anything of it. All of a sudden, I just felt myself like going after him.
And police say that the person who was hit by Baker, he was driving in that same direction, hit another vehicle. That person who was driving was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Coming up in the next half hour, I'll have more on what we learned about Baker and new reaction this morning from one of the parade organizers. Live this morning in Winter Garden, Randy Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
Randy, thank you. We should add here, this comes 3 weeks to the day after 6 people were killed at a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Police say Darrell Brooks was speeding away from a a domestic incident when he drove into the parade route. Brooks is now facing 6 counts.
Little
of
catch up on the
intentional
Wisconsin
homicide.
situation that's
The
very
sun is
similar to
rising now
this.
on a third day.
Developing now.
It's just crazy. People driving their vehicles through parades and stuff. It's horrible. Horrible. Claims are mounting against Hertz for customers who say they were wrongly arrested for
We've got an update on a story we first brought you last month involving
wrongly arrested for a rental. Could you imagine that? Like, you're driving a rental and they're like, you stole this, and you're like, I really did not. This is not Grand Theft Auto. I rented this from Hertz. Holy shit. Let's see.
We've got an update on a story we first brought you last month involving the car rental company Hertz and some shocking stories that you'll see only here. More people have come forward to claim they were accused, arrested, and even jailed after Hertz reported cars they had legitimately rented were stolen. Now, some of those customers are speaking exclusively with CBS Mornings. Consumer investigative correspondent Anna Warner continues her reporting on this very troubling story. Anna, good morning to you. Troubling is the word here.
Whoa.
Yeah, good morning, Gail. So a realtor, a cleaning service operator, even a NASA employee, they've all now filed claims against Hertz, saying a simple rental turned into their worst nightmare. And some of those incidents were caught on video.
It's a stolen vehicle.
That's Carrie Gibbs next to her Hertz pickup truck getting arrested at a California gas station in 2019 after Hertz told police she'd stolen the truck.
All of a sudden, 8 sheriffs came pulling up with their guns drawn.
Come have a seat on this bumper up here.
The truck had been rented for her from Hertz by an insurance company after an accident, but police took her to jail and she was charged with felony car theft. The case was later dismissed, but Gibbs said in court papers she lost her real estate license for a year.
I've been a real estate agent for 18 years, so this is the most frustrating thing ever.
Then there's this NASA employee driving a Hertz SUV. Florida police officers held him at gunpoint. Why? Because 2 days earlier, Hertz had filed a theft report claiming the vehicle NASA had rented for him was stolen. That NASA employee was not charged and was later released. And those are just 2 of many people who have filed claims.
Never in my life would I imagine that it would be in a situation like this.
Florida banker Manuel Garcia watched as his Hertz rental car was towed away while he was at a restaurant after Hertz reported it stolen, even though he says he'd been leasing the car for months.
And I was astonished, and I said, how can that be?
I'm still in shock. I just don't understand how this even happened.
Carmen Bosco told us she rented a car from a Florida Hertz location in January and returned it in April. But in August, officers in Georgia arrested her for car theft. She spent 40 days in jail, separated from her 3 children, including her 2-month-old baby.
I had to explain to my kids why I was gone for 40 days, and I missed time with my youngest that I'll never get back.
And Stephen Robinson says he never even rented a car from Hertz.
What?
Police arrested him for car theft. He spent 2 days in jail and is now being prosecuted on felony charges.
They're using other people's info to charge motherfuckers, dude.
Hertz. And it was a good slogan I heard, but Hertz really hurts people. Their negligent practices it's terrible.
I mean, I've already not been able to sleep at night over this.
Then there's Regina Mito, who says she rented a Hertz car.
When this story cut to that dude and they're like, and this guy, he did nothing. Like, what, he didn't even rent a car? And they're like, he caught a charge just cause he's like, no.
3 days in May to attend a wedding in
fuck,
Houston with her
Hertz?
husband, returning it on time. But last week, Hertz sent her this email saying they've now reported the car stolen, meaning she could face charges.
I have a husband, I have kids. Terrible. Sorry.
This is crazy.
My doorbell rings and I'm fearful that it's the cops coming to get me.
Hertz would not comment for this story.
I
As
bet they
previously
didn't.
said the vast majority of cases involve renters who were many weeks or even months overdue returning vehicles and who stopped communicating with Hertz.
What about the guy who didn't even rent one from you?
Well beyond the scheduled due date. Not according to attorney Francis Alexander Malafie, who's
This guy's got the drip of like a pretty methed out attorney. Like, he's paid well, but good Lord, does he look like he has the opposite of his shit together.
Says since our first story aired, more people have been coming
I'll take care of
forward.
you real good.
People think that
Right?
it's an incident.
Like, he looks like he's on trial. Like, bitch, you're not the fucking defendant. You're the attorney, dude. He's like, you want to bump before this starts? You're like, bitch, we're in court.
And they don't realize that this is a systemic issue that's happening across the nation.
Hertz disputes that, saying situations where vehicles are reported to the authorities are very rare. But this South Carolina attorney says
it's all over the 50 United States. These aren't isolated incidents.
Fritz Jekyll filed a similar case in 2019, and at the time asked Hertz whether there were any other lawsuits for false arrests and similar claims. He got back a database containing over 300 claims, going all the way back to 2008 up to 2016.
I was astounded by the number in just 8 years.
We can't see that database or show it here.
Hertz went out of business where you are in Canada, Christy? Shit.
You're basically saying that
Good.
there's a pattern of this problem, and yet the public wouldn't know about that.
Not until you're arrested.
Yeah, until you're
Hertz
arrested.
did not answer our questions about that database. The company has previously said it cares deeply about its customers and successfully rents tens of millions of rental vehicles to customers each year. Nate.
Anna, thank you. It doesn't really matter how many vehicles you rent a year if there are cases. One case is too many if somebody is either in fear of being arrested or have to go to jail.
The key phrases in the Hertz statement are the vast majority of these cases, so in other words, some of them legitimate in their eyes, and very rare. Well, when you're doing tens of millions of rentals and billions of dollars in revenue, very rare is still a large number of people, and that's some of them that Anna has been able to find along with her team. That's an astounding story. How can this be happening?
Yeah. I just think I want to know Hertz's definition of isolated incidents, number one. And number two, you rent a car, it would be terrifying. You get out of the car thinking that you're fine and you just see police guns pointed at you. Even when you're trying to explain, I didn't do anything. It's a very terrifying
You would hope that clerical...
Can you, what do you even do? What do you even do? What? Fuck Hertz. That is dystopian as shit, says Special. Beyond dystopian, a corporation being able to bring that ass down for, in one dude's case, not even renting it, like not even renting the car. Just crazy, wild news today. But we're entering the let's chill section of the day, so I'm gonna kick over to a short ad break real fast, and we'll be right back. And we'll just kind of chill, gang. Anybody who wants to float into the Discord and say what's up, tell me about your day, ask a question, share some news with me if you've got a relevant news article or just any news from the weekend you feel like you want to talk about, bring it to me, baby. Now is the time. We'll be right back. Shoot, an ad break for Barkbox? Yeah, say no more, I can do that. Check this out. Barkbox is a monthly subscription service providing dog products, services, and experiences. Bark services over 1 million dogs monthly through Barkbox and Super Chewer subscriptions and retail distribution. Check out Barkbox now. Exclusive link in description below. Yeah, no, I think I nailed it. I also got to do one for Atlas VPN. Okay, I can do an ad break for Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is a VPN. If you're searching the web without a VPN, you're not doing it anonymously. Exclusive link in the description below. Get a VPN. It's on us this month. And we're back. That's the new ad break. What's up, gang? Yeah, I shot the ads. I've been tired of saying them. So that's what's crack-a-lackin' there. Hope you guys like that kind of stuff. Again, we're going back to some edited content for a while. And see where it goes. I hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to start reviewing things. If anybody has any suggestions for anything you'd like us to review, or if you'd like to be a part of a review that we shoot and edit, hop on in. What up, Jameson? Hey, good afternoon. I'm going to put this... I'm going to put a little thing from 39 minutes ago from the Kim Potter trial, since we got Jameson in the house. This is the defense questions the medical examiner on marijuana found in Dante Wright's system. Now, before I hit play on this, I mean, you guys see me smoke on here all the time in a place where it's legal, so I don't see the relevance of marijuana in Dante's system having... there's no relevance, in my opinion. This is an irrelevant fucking subject. But we got Jameson here. I want to talk about it.
Excuse me. You wrote 20-year-old man who was shot by a police officer after a traffic stop and subsequently drove his car a short distance before colliding with another vehicle. Is that the information you received when you came on the scene?
That's correct.
Let this run. I'll be right back.
And the marijuana found in the system, did you send that to a lab or some other place to determine how much marijuana was in the system?
Well, as a part of the normal toxicology studies, they do quantify those numbers, the numbers of marijuana or anything they do find, yes.
And do you know what the quantify what the result was?
They're in my report.
Okay, and what are they?
If I may refer to my report.
Sure.
So in femoral blood, we found 11-hydroxy delta-9 THC, which is a metabolite. The level present was 6.9 nanograms per milliliter. There was delta-9 carboxy THC, which is an inactive metabolite. This was present at a concentration of 120 nanograms per milliliter. And delta-9 THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana, the level was 43 nanograms per milliliter.
And the active ingredient, what you mean by that is that's what affects you when you take the marijuana?
Yes.
And is 43 a high reading?
43 is a number within the normal range of individuals reported that use marijuana.
Okay. Use marijuana regularly or right before the death?
That's difficult to ascertain based on just the numbers alone.
I don't know if you answered my question. Is that a high reading based on your experience, toxicology-wise?
Doesn't matter if he was stoned off his ass. It's fucking weed.
Numbers
Doesn't
that
matter.
I see. Yes.
Thanks. And and you testified that Mr. Wright could be was conscious for seconds.
What up, Crystal? That's Goth Angel back in the day. What up?
The injury he sustained, he could survive for minutes, seconds to minutes, and then if blood supply is cut off to the brain, then one can be rendered unconscious in a short time, matter of seconds.
Yes, that's what I meant. You do know in this case, from what you were briefed on, that Mr. Wright said you shot me. Did you know that?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Pardon me?
I'm not aware of statements uttered by the decedent.
Oh, hell yeah, Crystal.
He drove off after the shot.
You better do some readings.
Is that what you learned?
That was reported, yes.
And he could have driven off like that for up to a minute. Fair statement?
Word, Jameson. Yeah.
The objection is overruled.
So he could have driven off like that.
But I see what you're saying, Jameson. Like, if we're going to bring in the relevance of the automobile, which he was behind the wheel of. Okay, I get you. I get what you're saying, Jameson. Again, just to quote Jameson again real quick while we're relevant to this. It matters somewhat. He was driving at the time. Personally, let me state for the record, I don't care who smokes weed. And shout out Crystal Marie, new YouTube channel. Everybody be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Crystal Marie on YouTube. Yeah. Vlogs and stuff. Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad I inspired you. That means a lot to hear that. And if you have some content you want to promote, let's do an interview. Let's do something we can share and use as a cross promotion. Love to talk to you about your channel and do a whole show.
I've been alive for up to a minute. Fair statement.
I would say that's possible.
Yeah, Jameson, it's probably... See, that's what I thought when I first read this, was it's probably a character attack. Which I don't think is going to float well with that jury. But old man Winter showed up in this courtroom over here with the throat prop. It needs a lozenge. Perpetually needs a lozenge.
Thank you, sir. That's all
The defense attorney.
Is there any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Jackson, you were asked about what might possibly happen to a body under these circumstances.
Mr. Philip Morris. We call him Mr. Philip Morris.
What physiologically
Mr. Philip
happens to
Morris,
the body
what?
when a heart is shot?
Yeah, it's just, you can remember, yeah.
In my profession, we don't see directly what happens to individuals. We are called in after the fact. But from my medical training, when an individual loses significant blood, they tend to become unconscious, or they could exhibit altered mental status.
And when you say loses significant blood, did you recover a significant amount of blood from inside Dante Wright's body?
Yes,
Consistent with blood loss that you're describing?
correct.
And when you see someone lose blood in the amount of 3 liters, what do you expect to happen to them physiologically?
I expect physiologically for the heart to be unable to
Hey, that's
pump
what's up,
blood
Graf.
to the organs, and I expect to see organs that shut down and loss of function occurring.
And when you expect to see that the heart isn't pumping blood and the organs are not functioning, what does that look like from the outside?
Could you clarify what you're asking?
Sure. If the heart is not able to pump blood to the organs and the body is losing blood, what happens to an observer? What does the observer see is happening to the body?
I think the person observing might see someone that appears unconscious or unresponsive, if that's what you're asking.
Yes. So you'd expect someone that was shot through the heart to be unconscious within a matter of seconds. Is that fair?
Check that as leading, Your Honor. It's also repetitious.
Objection is sustained.
I'll move on, Your Honor. With respect to marijuana or the THC levels that you saw, you indicated that those were potentially on high levels of what you've seen. Is that right?
Yes.
In the course of your career of doing 1,800 plus autopsies,
Still don't
have you
get
ever
what the heck
ruled a death
being high has to do with getting shot by a cop.
It doesn't. It's an attempted character assassination.
levels are insignificant with
She's
respect
about to
your
blow it up,
death
too.
finding. What does that mean?
That means relative to the injury sustained during the gunshot wound, there is no significant importance to the level of THC found in the decedent's system.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything further?
Word, Jameson.
You understood, did you not, Doctor, that when I was asking about the marijuana, I was not implying that this was a cause of death. I was just asking what was in his blood, correct?
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
All right. You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, you said it was on the high end, but, you know, that's just, ugh. Let's see. Got some NBC
has
live
been raised.
news.
Does this not just become, quote unquote, the new normal, right? Despite some of the
So we got a lady on NBC News now. She's talking about some here. Let's hop over to this. Again, guys, What's up? Come on in and chit chat. We're just talking now. You want to fill some air? Let me know how your weekend was. Let me know how you're doing. Come on in. Now's the time. I'm in the lounge and Discord. If you're new to the channel and you want to join the Discord, link in description below. It's on the MURKradio website, MURKradio.card, I believe. You'll see the link, baby. But 800,000 plus people have died from COVID in the United States over the course of COVID being a problem. Now, you know, in the scheme of the population, not too big of a number in my opinion, but I'm not an expert in this realm. So let's see what they got going on.
Cautions that health experts would like us to continue to take, and obviously the push to get vaccinated. Tell me a little bit about what it's like where you are in Florida, right? Because I think that candidly, Sam, I think there's a lot of people who can relate to this idea, who might know
Crystal.
family members who say, listen, I'm going to keep living my life, right? And
Omicron
take the right
variant is
steps,
some bad
but I've got to,
stuff.
at some point, get back to the way that I used to live.
It is.
Right now, Hallie, economically, Florida is booming in no small part because there have been fewer rules around COVID and more people and more businesses have come down here. Now, there is certainly a perception.
An exodus of business owners to Florida. That's why we're probably getting so much Florida news. There's actually shit happening there.
I cannot believe what it is like here compared to
James says this Omicron variant's some bad stuff. It surely is. They just lifted our borders here finally. Damn. They might have to shut them back down again, Crystal, unfortunately. It's damn Omicron variant.
I will actually poke some holes in that general perception of Florida, which is not something I'm generally apt to do. But there are a lot of people, you were just looking at drone video a second ago, that are going out to get tested right now. I must have talked to 20 or 30 people at this testing site within the last hour. So many of them told me they were concerned about what they're seeing here right now in Florida, where cases have ticked up about 80% in the last 2 weeks. They want to get tested before they go back to work. They want to go
So
test
Floridians as a whole, worried.
And they are just worried in general about their family members. So I don't think it is fair to say that Florida is completely off the map when it comes to COVID policies, but it is a heck of a lot different than where you are in the District of Columbia or really any other major metropolitan city right now.
Sam, listen, I got family on the other coast from where you are in Florida, and I hear the same thing. So I think it's
Welcome back, Justin.
I appreciate you sharing that. Sam Brock, thank you so much. Breaking news now from a federal court in Minnesota. Derek Chauvin, remember him, the former Minneapolis police officer, convicted.
Derek Chauvin. What's happening with Chauvin?
Well, he is now expected to change his not guilty plea on charges he violated George Floyd's civil rights. Joining me now from Minneapolis is Shaq Brewster, who you might remember.
Oh, shit.
Spent a ton of time covering this case. So, Shaq, explain this, because Derek Chauvin, we expect to see in court in a couple days from now on Wednesday. It didn't seem like everybody necessarily expected this to happen, for him to be now, we believe, getting ready to plead guilty to these civil charges.
Yeah, this came somewhat out of nowhere, Hallie, and it came as many people in this area were focused on the Kim Potter trial. And what we learned earlier this afternoon, it came from the federal district court. It was a notification that there will be a hearing, a change of plea hearing for Derek Chauvin. Now, we didn't expect this, and there was some reporting several months ago that there was talks about a potential plea deal, but there's been no confirmation that we've received that he is actually changing the plea. We've reached out to his defense attorney. We reached out to the district court and to some of the state's attorneys, and they have not responded to any of our requests for comments. But it is clear that he entered that not guilty plea a couple of months ago, and he will now be in court on Wednesday at 9 a.m. local time for a change of plea hearing, Hallie.
And let me be really
Wild.
clear, it's civil rights charges federally, right? This is separate from the murder charges that Chauvin was convicted on, the manslaughter charges back in April.
Just a plea for his civil rights charges.
Different things. Talk us through the civil rights piece of this, because I remember, Shaq, as we covered that trial of Derek Chauvin back in the spring, the
Why would he change?
was this federal,
Cutting a deal, maybe?
that was set to come up, which Chauvin again is now appearing to get ready to plead guilty to.
Two separate things, and to help underscore that, I mean, I'm in front of the Hennepin County Courthouse right now. This is the courthouse where you saw his trial. That was the murder charges, the murder conviction, and the manslaughter conviction that we were covering back in the spring. In St. Paul, that is where this hearing will happen. It's a federal court, and it's those 2 counts of of deprivation of rights under the color of law. And that's what the Department of Justice charged Derek Chauvin and the 3 other officers involved in George Floyd's death, murder. They were being charged with depriving his rights under the color of law, essentially saying that.
I guess my new question is, do I take the hybrid or the sativa?
Excessive force by police.
Ooh, I'm an indica guy.
For that. So that is what is being litigated now.
That indica just what I said, in the couch, nonstop, can't move, don't want to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going for normally.
Brewster, thank you so much for staying on top of this story. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So hybrid I would suggest, because I don't really, like, I'll do a straight sativa if, I don't know, I got to take like a test or something, maybe. Gotta go out.
I think it's the grape soda hybrid.
Ooh, yeah, grape sodas. I hear that's a good strain. Jameson says, almost certainly I know feds were looking into his wife's taxes. Maybe they agreed to an immunity deal for him for a guilty plea for her. Oh, Jameson. Oh, so Chauvin's wife probably caught some heat, and that's why they would do that shit. Okay. That makes total sense to me, actually. Weird. Man. What a day. What a day. Just talking about strains and weed, though, I'm down to do a little bit of that. I used to be somewhat of a strain kind of connoisseur, but turned into a if it burns, I smoke it kind of person. I've almost, like, there's a few strains I like remember, but it's normally because someone else likes it. Like, I remember the ones that Lux likes. I'll kind of forget what I like. I'm like, fuck it, it burns, it's on the list. There's a deal, I'm into it. I'm also a deal hound, so sometimes dispensaries play into my ooh, it's on sale. Let's get some dry weed sometimes at a discount. Fuck it. That's me. I'm that guy. I'm that target demographic.
I'll take that shake if you got it.
Yeah, man. The dispensaries, the medical dispensaries in Arkansas when I was there, yeah, they have sometimes ridiculous deals on shake. You can get like a quarter for the price of like a gram of some weed, you know. And it's shake, but it's shake. It's fine. It burns. It gets you there. It's a good strain. It's from a dispensary. It's, you know. It's different than getting a bag of shake from the homeboy when you're like, is this oregano? Did you cut this with something? Did you cut this with tea, dude? Which, yeah, shit happens. Oh, shit, F-Craft says it's dispensary delivers. There's a couple Arkansas ones that do. I think most of the Arkansas ones do. You just gotta, I don't know, set that shit up. What up, Erica? If you're free, lady, feel free to hop in the chat. We're just hanging out. Just made beef stroganoff. Damn. Damn. Hell yeah. That's actually, I love that shit. I even like the Hamburger Helper beef stroganoff. Like, I won't lie. Like, did you go old school with it or did you get it from a box? Because, again, no hate if you got it from a box. I love that shit. I am that American kid. Give me some Hamburger Helper, boy. I'll crush it. Destroy it. Ooh. But yeah, man, there's a lately if it's a pasta thing, I think we've been going like Zimmy with it. We go as Zimmy as possible. Get the Zimmy pasta. Oh, speaking of Zimmy, so jealous of some of a specific old electric piano he has. Cough, cough, smooth. Word. Let's see what we got going on in the news here.
Before this strike, 13 U.S. troops had been killed. Hundreds, dozens of other Afghans and other American service members were wounded in a terrible attack at Kabul airport. Everyone was on high alert and on edge. And that's the backdrop of when this happened. Because of that, the defense officials who I spoke with all along were saying they did not expect, as long as there wasn't any deliberate
yeah, Barney.
They did not expect anyone to be held punished or be punished for this. As you were reporting this out, Courtney, today, did your sources tell you anything that that you didn't expect here in this?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, we
interesting.
knew all along from the Air Force Inspector General that there was no law of war violations in this. I mean, the one thing that I do think we need to keep watching in this case, though, is the fact that the Pentagon has been saying for weeks that they would provide these payments to the family members of those who were killed, and that they would work to get those family members out. That still hasn't happened. So we're talking about 2.5 months on since this actual strike, since these 10 people were killed, and they're all still sitting there in Kabul, and they've not gotten any additional payments from the U.S. government.
Children's toys in that bombed out house, dude.
So this was actually, according to reading my mind, this was my next question to you, right? This, because I know that there was this promise, right, made to the family of these victims. What is the timeline, right? Okay, so as
30% indica from the dispensary.
Within the next month, within the next 2 months, like, is there an end date
Damn,
to when the Pentagon
that's
says, yes,
solid, Barney. That's dope.
No, there isn't. And we heard today from the employer of the aid worker who was killed, NIE is the name of the group, and they're really decrying the fact that the government has not provided anything to this family. They have not gotten them out of Kabul, and they still have not provided a payment with them, and saying that now on top of all this, the U.S. military is not finding anyone accountable for the fact that 10 innocent civilians were killed in this tragic mistake. And that's what the military really is calling it. They are saying this is a tragic accident. What we will see going forward from this, from the military, is some procedural changes. The hope is that they will be able to implement some new policies and procedures in the future so accidents, tragic mistakes like this will not happen. But at this point, we still don't have any firm sense of what is happening to those family members. Will the U.S. government actually be able to get them out of Kabul and potentially out of harm's way?
Important questions, and I'm glad you're there at the Pentagon to get those answered. Courtney Kuby, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate your time tonight. Well, people in Kentucky were terrified for their lives.
Good lordy.
Some of them are telling NBC News
That's...
that their jobs were threatened if they left their shift early. We've got people who broke the story on this and the company's response coming up.
Could you imagine your factory being destroyed and you were forced to stay in the shit? Holy shit, you'd be fired if you leave. That's a nightmare. That's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Man. You know, yeah. Couldn't fathom being that kind of business owner. You know, even the way I run this YouTube channel, I'm a pretty loosey-goose individual. I gotta outsource some of the more responsible positions. Because my judgment is, you know, that of a loosey-goose artist. And you know, if you're a staunch capitalist asshole that's like, you know, you need to crack those factory hours, you probably shouldn't be in charge of a emergency protocol. You need to have that wherewithal, that inner knowledge, that knowing of self. You know what I mean? It's important. There's a serious lack of that behind that story. There's an executive somewhere or a boss or a shift manager that really dropped the ball and put a lot of people's lives at risk. But it always seems like I end up on the safety team in knowing emergency protocol anywhere I work because, you know, for the last 6-7 years I've been a maintenance man. And that's part of it, is knowing where to send people if there's an emergency and knowing what to do to help maintain your building, you know, while also helping the people and providing us either a safe means of exit or a safe place to get to hunker down. A windowless area. There have been times I've been on a night shift where tornado sirens go off and all these out-of-towners show up and gotta stack them up in the staircases and the windowless rooms the best you can. There's no storm shelter there. Arkansas is strange with that. Really rocky terrain, so you don't see too many substructures. You see them, just not all the time.
Mayfield, Kentucky is trying to quite literally pick up the pieces of what's left after tornadoes left a trail of destruction there and around the region. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to speak to a minister there about how his community is trying to deal with this. But first, let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, Mexican musical legend Vicente Fernandez, known as the king of ranchero music, died over the weekend at 81 years old. He sold more than 50 million records worldwide and won 3 Grammys.
Yo, there are some, that's where all the Tias are, dude. They're sad. I know Vicente Fernandez died.
And 8 Latin Grammys. Number 2, The Coast Guard is
King of the
stopping
Latin
search
Grammy.
for a woman who went overboard the Carnival Miracle cruise ship this weekend off the coast of Mexico. This was reported to have happened early Saturday. They were looking for
We
her for
checked
something
that
like
out.
30 plus hours. Number 3, earlier today, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett met with the Crown Prince of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. They met at the prince's private palace in Abu Dhabi. This is a big deal, right? It's the first time an Israeli leader has made an official visit to the UAE. It marks a fairly significant change, or at least significant moment in the relationship between the countries. Number 4, some restaurants and
Interesting.
grocery stores in California are suing to block a new law that they say might raise the price of pork, maybe even lead to some bacon shortages. The law forces...
I can tolerate a lot of shortages, toilet paper, but you start fucking with bacon and tobacco, you might as well fucking exile me from beat machines. I'll be irate.
Farmers to make more space for animals like hogs to move around.
What up, Debbie?
Farmers say that's going to be too expensive for them. The law is supposed to go into effect on New Year's. Number 5, Time Magazine Person of the Year. You know who it is? Spoiler alert. Elon Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO. The magazine's editor-in-chief says few individuals have had more influence than Musk on life on Earth and potentially life off Earth, too.
Word. Talk to you in a bit special.
Tornadoes that have hit 6 states. As we learn new details here at NBC News about a candle factory in Mayfield that had more than 100 people in it. You heard from one of those survivors, one of those factory workers earlier in the show. Well, now NBC News is learning that employees, some of them, say supervisors threatened to fire them if they left their shifts early because of the tornado warnings.
This story is why I've stuck around.
Those allegations, they say it is absolutely untrue that the employees would not be able to leave. Dion Hampton broke that story for NBCNews.com. Dion is joining us now. Dion, I understand you pop back to your hotel room. You're going to get back out in the field later on tonight. Tell me a little bit about how employees walked you through what happened on Friday as the storm was coming in. What did they tell you? How did they try to stay safe?
Sure. So I just broke a national exclusive less than an hour ago. This story stems out of me going up to one of the shelters that was housing a lot of the people who have lost all their worldly possessions, who didn't have any power and electricity. No, the city doesn't have any power and electricity. And I talked to a guy there while I was interviewing him. He told me that he was an employee of the candy factory, and that while he was there, before the tornado came, a lot of people there had wished that they would have been able to leave and go home to take shelter there with their loved ones or somewhere else that was safe, but they weren't allowed to, because if they did, they risked losing their jobs. So I followed up, and I've spoken to 5 people who all give me the same story.
And the story is what?
I love this guy. He's obviously a writer. He's got the voice of Cleveland Brown, and it's endearing as hell. It's adorable. You hear Cleveland Brown on like Family Guy or something. You don't think you're going to necessarily encounter that accent just out and about during a day. When you do, it's pretty special.
When those sirens hit, they tried to leave and they were told you might be fired if you do. That's what they're sort of saying, these employees?
Correct. Initially, the company wanted, as the first sirens went off, I'm going to say around between 5:30, 6 o'clock, and they wanted everybody to maybe take shelter in the bathrooms and the hallways. But then there was a 3-hour window between then and when the second siren had came. And that's when a lot of the employees there had asked to go home. So we're talking 15 employees. That's on the low end, possibly up to 40, but I'll just call it 15 for now. But who had asked, listen, it's getting dangerous outside. We're worried for our lives.
Oh, right on, Debbie.
And they said, well, yes, but if you do,
We're just catching up with the news today. Getting our poop in a group for the week.
We said it right at the top, Dion. Company's saying, The company's saying this did not happen, right?
Correct. So I spoke to the company spokesman earlier today, and he said that ever since COVID started, that they have a policy where you actually are allowed to leave at any point during your work shift. You can leave and decide to come back the next day. So that means if you want to stay there for 45 minutes, okay. If you want to stay there for 2 hours, okay. If you want to stay there for the whole shift, okay. So they're denying the allegations, but the employees are sticking by their story.
And some of them I know are still in the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, one of the women who I spoke to was literally 2 o'clock this morning, and she was talking to me from her hospital bed.
Wow.
She sustained a lot of burns. She was trapped under a concrete wall for 6 hours, And we started talking on the phone, and this is how much of an important issue this was to her, but she didn't even bother going to sleep because she was
Nothing really new on Ghislaine other than the prosecution has rested their case, Debbie. So it's ending quicker than we thought it
You
would.
said it. It's a national exclusive that you broke. It is some important reporting, and we're really glad to have you stand on top of that. I'll let you get back out in the field. Thank you.
Yeah,
for your hard
Jameson, it
work.
does not look good for the prosecution.
A church in that same town in Mayfield is trying to send a message of hope, even with all the devastation we've seen. I want to show you this video from inside the First Christian Church. Look at this. There's a door gone. The roof's gone. I mean, there's nothing. This is an open-air church. Didn't used to be, right? People would have sat where all those pieces of wood are. You see the piano there.
They sure did,
standing alone.
Jameson.
But look at this. The altar, still standing. It's covered in debris, but it is still standing. Dr. Milton West is the senior minister of that church and joins me now. Pastor West, it's good to be with you. I have to ask, how are you doing? How are your parishioners doing? Just give me a gut check tonight.
Well, I think we're hanging in there. It's been a brutal several days, but we're pulling together. A number of people have lost their
First
homes.
Christian Church of Mayfield,
Fortunately, there's
Kentucky.
been no fatalities. And once we saw that it was safe, reasonably safe to go in the
I'm going to need to
building,
hear from Stan Otis soon. I hope Stan Otis all right. Stan Otis, a Kentuckian. Hope he's all right.
The communion table that you just shared with your viewers, we managed to retrieve from the building, and it is now safely set aside and secure. So at least that is the only thing of substance in our service that survived this horrific storm.
You said something really beautiful, though. I understand that your message to your parishioners was the church is the people. The church is not the building. Explain that.
Well, you know, the church is wherever two or more are gathered. And we knew that of course, this building is a spiritual place for us, but it wouldn't be spiritual without the people who come and invest their spiritual lives and experiences with one another. So, we worshiped out in our parking lot, had communion. This was yesterday morning. Had about 100 folks with us. Also, our friends from across the street at First Presbyterian Church joined us. So it was a brief time of celebration and remembering. And then we went right to work starting to salvage what we could from our building.
What do you
So
need?
it is a labor of love.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Pastor. It sure is a labor of love. What do you need? What are the things outstanding that you still need from people? Because I have to tell you, there are so many people around the country who are watching this and who have been watching this coverage and are going, how can I help? We're 2.5 weeks before Christmas, not even, right? Like any time of year, this would be a horrific thing to happen, but especially now, how can people help you?
Well, I think the first thing they don't need to do is just pack up a car with some water and some diapers and drive down here without knowing what they're doing. While all of us here in Mayfield would appreciate all the sentiment that goes with that, I think the first thing that needs to happen is if you want to support our church in our rebuilding effort, you can certainly go to our online giving app, Givelify.com or Givelify, and you'd have to look it up and look for First Christian Church in Mayfield and follow the prompts if you want to support us financially.
Sorry, man.
But
We
I
can't
think
donate. God bless. Good luck. Like, share.
Yeah. I think in the Ghislaine Maxwell case, to address the chat here, I think Comey's daughter is the person who's, dishing out the prosecution. She's the prosecuting attorney, and I think that it's just interesting that it's already rested. But here's just a look at the prosecution and defense strategies in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Let's check this out. This is from the Washington Post.
The Ghislaine Maxwell is underway in New York. Maxwell is accused of being the accomplice of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, helping him run a sex trafficking ring.
Yeah, tough business.
Victims have said it was Maxwell who lured them in, built trust, and ultimately handed them over to Epstein to be sexually abused.
This is really unusual in that it's the first case we're really seeing where a woman who is really one of the chief enablers, who is part of the inner circle of a sexual predator, is actually on trial.
For a lot of people, this is the trial they wanted against Mr. Epstein. The justice they had wanted to see done through Mr. Epstein, they can't because he killed himself. And so there is, I think, a lot of intense interest now on this trial.
The government has charged Maxwell with 6 counts related to sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy for allegedly recruiting young girls for Epstein.
The government does want to sort of summon the anger and outrage that will be in the minds of a lot of people as they hear the evidence about things Mr. Epstein did, but they also need to really just keep the focus as much as they can on Ms. Maxwell so that she's not able to take advantage of an argument that really she's just a tiny player in all of this.
But
prosecution did a shit job at it.
A term with no legal definition? In a case relying heavily on testimony from victims, the government's main strategy has been to bolster those claims with fact witnesses.
Which is really tough in these cases. We're talking about charges that go back quite a long time. And fundamentally, in so many sex crime cases, it really is 2 people behind closed doors. Here, obviously, there were sometimes more people, but certainly one is already dead. And so it's always a challenge for prosecutors in these types of cases to try and build that out.
Some of the ambiguity around acts that can be considered grooming will work for her defense in the sense that she'll be able to argue that conduct like going shopping,
right,
having tea, things of that nature where there was no sexual kind of component at all, that she did not understand was grooming. I think more challenging for the defense, obviously, will be conduct that is alleged against Ms. Maxwell, where she's accused of being privy to, sexualized conversations. That will, I think, be easier for the jury to understand as inappropriate and potentially grooming.
Maxwell's defense has attempted a dual strategy to both maintain her innocence and discredit victims, the youngest of whom was just 14 at the time.
On the one hand, the defense is, I'm not Jeffrey Epstein, that she's a different person and she shouldn't be tainted with his crimes. But on the other hand, some of the witnesses the government has called do fairly directly implicate her in Jeffrey Epstein's sexual crimes and other sexual misconduct. And so that then leaves the defense really with no choice but to try to challenge the credibility of some of those witnesses.
Maxwell's trial is expected to last through January of 2022.
Each of her charges carries significant prison time. So if she were convicted of all of these counts, there is the potential that she would be spending decades at least in prison.
It's from the Washington Post. But the prosecution is resting. We know the prosecution did a shit job conveying anything that they seem to lay a blueprint for. We'll see where this goes. I just don't see it being, it being anything too earth-shattering. I got a feeling, we already don't have delivery on some of the groundbreaking names and stuff that were going to be dropped in this case. It's kind of turned into a kind of a nothing situation. The Convo Couch. Biden Democracy Summit. Oh, what's this lead Zoom call? What do we got here? President-elect Biden's call with civil rights leaders. It's from a year ago. Well, let's see what this dude's fucking talking about. What the fuck is this? Is this stream? Who is this dude? Craig. Ah, well, I like his format. It's kind of like what we got going on. Wild. Johnson's pushing their boosters. See what we got here from the
Some breaking
Supreme
news
Court.
now, just in from the Supreme Court in the last couple of minutes, with justices allowing New York's vaccine mandate for healthcare workers to stay in place. I want to bring in NBC's Pete Williams.
What
who
up,
has the
Alley
latest on
Cats?
this. So, Pete, why did they decide not to block it?
Well, they don't say why. This is just an order of the court. It was a request for an injunction, so this is not a ruling. We don't get lots of details. It's simply the court refused to grant this injunction that was requested by some nurses and some doctors in New York. This is
thank
the
you,
fifth
Allie.
time that the U.S. Supreme Court has declined to block a state vaccine mandate. So it's done it for healthcare workers already in Maine and Massachusetts, for teachers in New York, for students at Indiana University, in every case declining to block vaccine mandates. The three dissenters in this case, Justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch, said the court should have taken the case, that there were legitimate religious
Right, Jameson, they are
the
Constitution. Exactly. We did it with polio mandates, you know?
You don't have to take
Oh,
the
love you,
vaccine.
Alley
You
Cats.
can get a medical exemption, but there's no religious exemption, and they argued that was a violation of the religious freedom, but the Supreme Court did not agree and is not taking the case.
Damnsies. Like, we're not taking that fucking case, bitch. Okay. Oof. Let's see Jake Tapper react to some of the evidence from the January 6th committee. Some of the evidence of you guys know how I feel about the January 6th situation, right? Like, it was Trump's a crypto liberal, and it was a way for him to round up a bunch of heavy zealous right-wingers because they're rounding up all the zealous people who vote either fascistic or communist. Yeah, you guys heard me go on that spiel. Anyway, let's check this out.
We learned more this week about the efforts by Donald Trump and his team to overrule the will of the American people and steal the presidential election based on deranged lies and wild conspiracy theories.
The FBI never did anything other than to impede investigations.
Some of the wilder lies from this man, Philip Waldron. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows turned over to the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection a PowerPoint memo Waldron says he had circulated among other allies, a memo that reportedly called for Trump to declare a state of national emergency because of the false, if not lunatic, theory Waldron was pushing that foreign actors hacked into servers to change American votes. Waldron appeared in that unhinged film by MyPillow's Mike Lindell, a film that has...
Oh, that's right. The MyPillows guy made a movie. Boy, did that administration get weird.
A lot of movements of votes, direct access to Pennsylvania voting precincts, county tabulation centers, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. All of that coming in directly from foreign countries, China being the predominant one.
Holy shit.
That guy had the ear of White House officials. That guy was pushing lunacy and urging them to declare a national emergency and seize...
Creep factor got real tall. What?
On Friday, Trump Attorney General Ellis confirmed the authenticity of two memos published by Politico. One of them, dated December 31st, proposes a way for Vice President Pence to not count the electoral votes for Joe Biden from Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Because, she said, Republicans in those states were disputing their results, though, as always, we should note, these disputes were rooted in wild and unhinged lies. So Ellis said, quote, on January 6th, the vice president should therefore not open any of the votes from these 6 states and instead direct a question to the legislators of each of those states and ask them to confirm which of the 2 slates of electors have in fact been chosen in the manner the legislature has provided for. The question would then require a response from the state legislatures, which would then need to meet in an emergency electoral session.
Lordy.
Quote. In other words, even though there were not 2 slates of electors from every state, Ellis's memo was proposing a way for Pence to push the state legislatures to convene and create them. 5 of 6 of those states have Republican legislatures, we should note. This plan was counting on their participation. Another Ellis memo.
Oh, word, Allie.
Before the insurrection proposes
Word.
The vice president should begin alphabetically in order of the states and coming first to Arizona. not open the purported certification, but simply stop the count at that juncture, unquote. The states would then have to act. Ellis tweeted in response to the Politico story that she never, quote, advocated Pence had the authority to overturn the election and that the memos simply outlined, quote, legal theories I explored.
Whoa, bullshit.
That Vice President Pence was being pushed to take some action like that by this man, John Eastman, another preacher of crazy election lies.
They were unloading the ballots from that secret folder, matching them to the unvoted voter, and voila, we have enough votes to barely get over the finish line.
Just crazy.
What?
Eastman claimed in memos falsely that Pence was the, quote, ultimate arbiter of the electoral votes. We know this not just from reporting, but from Donald Trump's own words on January 6th.
John is one of the most brilliant lawyers in the country, and he looked at this and he said, what an absolute disgrace that this could be happening to our Constitution.
Ugh.
And he looked at Mike Pence, and I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so.
Now, it might be tempting to laugh at all this wackiness, the nutty theories and the foreign hackers and bizarre legal memos, but Republican officials continue to push these lies, or at the very least, most of them are not standing up against them. Polling shows a majority of Republican voters now believe the falsehood that the election was stolen. One of those Republicans, this man, Stephen Lindemuth, a substitute teacher from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, who attended the January 6th rally and posted on his Facebook page, quote, unfortunately, a few weeds sprouted up and turned a very positive event into a negative one. A few weeds sprang up mixed within the wheat. They looked like wheat. They smelled like wheat. They appeared to be wheat, but they certainly weren't wheat. The enemy had planted some weeds in among the wheat, unquote.
What?
I'm not certain if Mr. Lindemuth was suggesting that the hundreds of Trump supporters who have been prosecuted for attacking the Capitol were not actually Trump supporters, but the only reason I'm even mentioning him to you is because Mr. Lindemuth ran and won.
I think they're both shit presidents, Christie. I think
elections in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. A guy
they're both
who attended
shitty.
that ridiculous Stop the Steal rally, saying he was, quote, standing for the truth to be heard. He's now in charge of elections. And this is happening all over the country in offices small and large, from Republican gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake in Arizona, endorsed by Trump, to former Georgia Senator David Perdue, endorsed by Trump to challenge incumbent Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Perdue just told Axios that he
Jameson, shitty presidents in order. Buchanan, Trump. Yeah, they're the shittiest presidents.
Make no mistake, the folks from this movement,
Reagan, because his administration is classified as a failed administration.
Counting unless you vote for them. Their platform is disenfranchisement and derangement. It is undemocratic, and it's frankly un-American, and they're doing it right in front of all of us, right out in the open. Trump once said, quote, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose voters. He did try to kill democracy once, and he's going to try to do it again, clearly. But this time, with a little help from his friends, he might actually pull it off.
Damn. Fucking wild. Fucking wild.
Man, I hate politics.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I like the sport of it. James says, I've seen a lot of law, etc. I know good leaders and bad ones. I've never seen a worse leader than Trump. Honestly, haven't seen it. Same. I feel the same way. Trump was an incredibly bad leader, bad public speaker, bad orator, damaged the validity and overall decorum of the position. He disrespected the position, in my opinion, but this is somebody who wasn't applicable to run as president to begin with because of the because of the emoluments clause. He accepts a lot of money from China because they rent a lot of space in Trump Tower in New York. So he wouldn't qualify to be president from the jump. So he was a shit president, I think, designed to be some kind of Republican Party suicide bomb, like a sleeper agent for the left, if you will. He destroyed not just the validity of like the credibility of his party. He destroyed the credibility of an element of the office that he held. And yeah, he disrespected our Constitution every day. Yeah. He was a horrible president. Horrible president. Joe Biden is functionally asleep, and it's being ran by, in my opinion, the same group of people that put Trump in power to destroy the Republican Party and the credibility of the Republican Party. Which again, I'm somebody who, pre-Trump, I didn't vote for Trump, but I considered myself fairly conservative with how I would vote. I like to vote opposition, and I'm pro-gun, pro-choice, but, you know, while I'm back and forth on a lot of different options, depending on who's running, I might vote conservative. And I could almost see from the jump, like I kept an active theory in my mind that he was actually a theater piece planted into the Republican Party by the left, and that envelope was passed a long time ago. So, you know, yeah, Trump's not conservative. Exactly. He was something put in to destroy the party. And I say we roll out on that sentiment today. It's been a good talk show. I'm glad you guys are all rolling in. If you've missed the show, feel free to rewatch. We're in the holidays, so getting lower plays on YouTube, which is something that's planned. Next year, we're going to probably just do edited content and take a break for the holidays. So if you guys have it in your heart, please share an episode that you enjoy of this show to your social media. Let your friends know. Invite your friends. Let's get to talking about the news. We're going to keep doing it Monday through Friday. And days off or anything like that, do our best to announce in the Discord. But we're making a big return to edited content. We're going to start doing reviews. Going to have a whole new playlist for reviews, so stay tuned and keep an eye out for that. Lux and I are putting quite a bit of work into them, so I really think you guys will like what we have coming up. So I love you guys. Forehead kisses. We're going to roll on out of here. Let's get the outro sequence ready. I like that little beat. Made a little beat. We're tightening up the ship a little bit. We're in kind of MURKradio 0.3 now, where we're really starting to nail some formats. Got my ad breaks pre-recorded. Hey, love you, Graph. Before I roll out, shout out Arianthe. She had some property damage from the storms. Shout out Stanody, who is currently having to deal with, I believe, an unfortunate health issue. But he was in Kentucky. I checked on Stanody while we were streaming, and he is okay. His family is okay. He is just, he's quarantined at the moment. So no property damage, but he's quarantined. And I love all you guys. Shout out Iro on Twitch. If you guys are into gaming streams, check out Iro on Twitch. That's Chief. You hear him in here all the time. Justin, Thicket Craft Forge. You can check it out on all social media. Check him out. If you're new to the channel, check out our Discord. Link in description. And you guys have a Gucci day.